They called him corkless, powerless, a boy who'd break himself 47 times before giving up. But what if someone noticed? What if a god of destruction, bored after 75 million years, saw a kid who destroyed himself to save others and thought, "That's the one." This is the story of Izuku Midoriya becoming something beyond hero or villain, of green eyes turning purple gold, of learning that love sometimes means choosing what must end. This is... What if Deku became Beerus God of Destruction Successor? If you're new to the channel, thanks for giving this a shot. For everyone who's been riding with me through these stories, you already know what's up. Smash that subscribe button if you want more cosmic level what-ifs. And tell me in the comments which crossover I should tackle next. Because the greatest power isn't saving everyone. It's knowing what to let go.
The air split, not metaphorically. Reality tore, a seam ripping across the sky above Jaku City like fabric caught on cosmic scissors. Purple gold light hemorrhaged through, and every combatant on the battlefield froze mid-motion. Shigaraki's hand stopped inches from Ryukyu's face. Endeavor's flames crystallized mid-flare. Even the debris hung suspended, defying gravity. Izuku Midoriya, 17 years old and 5 seconds into a 45% Delaware smash aimed at Shigaraki's exposed ribcage, felt his body lock. Not paralysis, something worse. Something that made every cell scream, "You should not be moving in the presence of this." His mind, however, refused to stop. Unknown energy signature. Purple gold coloration suggests electromagnetic spectrum manipulation, but the wavelength is wrong. It's all wrong. Quirk classification. Emitter type? No, too much environmental distortion. Maybe transformation, but the spatial tears indicate. A staff emerged first. White, geometric, crowned with a floating orb that pulsed with the same reality-bending light. It drifted through the rift with the casual authority of something that had never encountered resistance. Behind it, blue-white skin, pristine robes, a serene face with eyes that looked at the frozen battlefield the way a biologist might observe bacteria under a microscope. Curious, but not particularly invested. The sound was musical, amused. My, what a concentrated display of mortal conflict. Beerus-sama, I believe I've located the anomaly. Skin pigmentation indicates mutation-type quirk, possibly alien origin given the chromatic variance from baseline human norms, but the energy output suggests, wait, did he just walk through dimensional space like it was a doorway? Izuku's analytical cascade stuttered when the second figure appeared. Purple fur, feline features, golden eyes that radiated the kind of boredom that came from living longer than civilizations. The newcomer yawned, genuinely yawned, revealing fangs, then floated through the tear with his hands behind his back, surveying the battlefield with visible disappointment. The word dripped with aristocratic distaste. This is what triggered the universal anomaly sensors? Whis, I was promised something interesting. I said, paradoxical, Lord Beerus. Not interesting. Though I must admit, the blue-skinned being Whis tapped his staff once. The orb flared. Izuku felt his consciousness pinned, like a butterfly under glass, his body frozen, but his mind screaming against the divine weight pressing down on every synapse. This one is rather fascinating. Those purple eyes locked onto him. Izuku's muttering died in his throat. He's looking at me, he's looking directly at me, and I can't move, can't activate, full cowling, can't warn, All Might can't protect, Uraraka can't reach, Kakin can't. Beerus floated closer, circling Izuku's frozen form. His tail swished once. Mortal, fragile bone structure, extensive scarring from repeated cellular damage. One clawed finger tapped Izuku's forehead. It felt like being touched by the weight of a collapsing star. And yet, your soul carries the echo of something that chose you. Inherited power. How quaint. Izuku's eyes darted desperately toward the command center, toward where he knew All Might was watching. Successor analysis complete. Beerus' ear twitched. Paradoxically self-destructive, yet driven by preservation instinct. destroys himself to prevent destruction of others. Whis, this mortal is a walking contradiction. Indeed. Shall I prepare the transference? I am sorry. Izuku's voice cracked through the divine paralysis. Reflexive apology spilling out before thought. I don't understand what's happening. I need to. Oh, he speaks. Beerus examined one claw with theatrical disinterest. Tell me, little hero, how many times have you broken yourself to save others? Irrelevant question. Answer it anyway. Calculate response that minimizes threat. Establish communication protocols. Find a logic that lets me move again. F47 times. The words tumbled out in Izuku's panic staccato. 47 major injuries requiring hospitalization, not counting minor fractures or the sludge villain incident before I received my quirk. But I don't understand what that has to do with. You count. Beerus' eyes widened fractionally. The first hint of genuine interest. You quantify your own destruction. Fascinating. Most mortals who self-sacrifice do so impulsively, stupidly. But you, he leaned closer. You calculate it. Strategic self-annihilation. Tell me, if saving 1,000 people required you to cease existing, would you? Yes. No hesitation. The certainty in that single word rang through the frozen battlefield like a bell. If it required you to kill one innocent, Izuku's throat constricted. His mind, his greatest weapon, the thing that had carried him through every impossible fight, stuttered. The analysis stopped. No variables to calculate. No strategy that ended with everyone safe. Just a question with no answer he could accept. I can't. There's no scenario where everyone's smiling at the end if someone innocent has to. The numbers wouldn't come. The percentages failed him. For the first time since receiving One for All, Izuku Midoriya couldn't think his way out. His voice was barely a whisper. I can't. Exactly. Beerus straightened, nodding to Whis. He understands that heroism has limits. He simply refuses to accept them. Perfect. Wait. Izuku strained against the divine pressure, panic cracking his voice into something raw and desperate. I can't. They need me. Uraraka's out there, and Kakin, and All Might is. His voice broke. I'm supposed to save them. I'm supposed to. Please, I can't just leave them. I didn't earn the right to leave. I'm not done yet. We'll be handled by those other colorful mortals, Beerus said, waving dismissively at the frozen battlefield. This, he gestured at Shigaraki's suspended form, at the heroes locked mid-combat, is a planetary concern. I'm offering you a universal one. No, the word tore out of him. I haven't saved everyone yet. Shigaraki is still. The war isn't. They're going to die if I'm not here, and it'll be my fault because I couldn't, because I wasn't. The rift widened. Purple gold light intensified until Izuku couldn't see anything else. Couldn't see his friends. Couldn't see the people he'd sworn to protect. I'm sorry. In the command center, Toshinori Yagi, All Might, symbol of peace, eighth wielder of One for All, watched his successor dissolve into divine light. His hero form shattered. Smoke erupted as his body deflated, skeletal hand slamming against the monitor hard enough to crack the screen. Blood spattered from his mouth as he tried to scream, tried to force out one last smash, one last defiant roar, anything to reach the boy vanishing into that impossible rift. No sound came, just a wet, rattling gasp, just the sight of his true form collapsing to his knees, blood pooling beneath him as his ruined lungs refused to pull in air. His skeletal fingers clawed at the floor, at empty space, at the place where Izuku had been moments before. Around him, heroes and support staff rushed forward, shouting, reaching, but Toshinori heard none of it. Only one thought crystallized through the agony. I wasn't enough to prepare him. He'd given Izuku power. He'd given him a legacy. He'd given him the weight of a symbol and the burden of a dream and the impossible expectation that he could save everyone with a smile. But he'd never taught him what to do when saving everyone became impossible. And now something else would teach him that lesson. Young Midoriya. The words came out in a broken whisper, blood bubbling at his lips. I'm so sorry. When the light faded, the battlefield unfroze. Heroes stumbled, disoriented, hands flying to weapons that had been frozen mid-swing. Endeavor's flames roared back to life. Ryukyu twisted away from Shigaraki's reaching hand. But Shigaraki Tamura had collapsed. He lay gasping on the shattered concrete, hands clawing uselessly at the ground, his body still remembering the weight of divine presence crushing down on him like the fist of an angry god. Where Bakugo landed hard, explosions crackling in his palms, crimson eyes scanning the battlefield frantically. Where the hell is Deku? Uraraka spun, brown eyes wide, searching. Deku-kun? Deku-kun. The sky was empty, blue and clear and completely, impossibly normal. In the command center, All Might knelt in a pool of his own blood, skeletal fingers still clutching at nothing. The rift sealed with a sound like the universe sighing. On a planet 47,000 light-years away, in a palace made of stone and starlight, a green-haired boy woke up screaming. His hands clawed at unfamiliar sheets. His lungs pulled in air that tasted wrong. Too clean, too thin, missing the smoke and blood and desperation of battle. His eyes darted around a room that was too large, too quiet, too wrong. Uraraka, Kakin, All Might. The names ripped out of him like prayers. I have to go back. They need me. Shigaraki is still. Lesson 1. Izuku's head snapped toward the voice. Beerus sat on the edge of an absurdly ornate bed, tail swishing lazily, golden eyes reflecting the light of 3 suns streaming through crystalline windows. Don't scream, the god of destruction said, voice carrying the weight of 75 million years of absolute authority. It's unbecoming of a god of destruction. Izuku opened his mouth. No sound came out, just the hollow, crushing realization that he was 47,000 light-years away from everyone he'd ever sworn to protect. And there was absolutely nothing he could do about it. Izuku's eyes snapped open to wrong. Wrong sky. Purple, streaked with gold nebulae that pulsed like living things. Wrong gravity. His body felt simultaneously heavier and lighter, like the planet itself couldn't decide his weight. Wrong everything. Floating land masses drifted past crystalline windows, defying every law of physics he'd spent 17 years internalizing. He lurched upright, green lightning crackling across his arms on instinct. 45%, the same percentage he'd been using against Shigaraki. Nothing. Full cowling sputter died. The familiar surge of one for all, that constant hum of inherited power that had become as natural as breathing, flatlined. His body felt hollow. Naked. No. Panic clawed up his throat. OFA percentage check. 0. Quirk factor unresponsive. Cellular activation failed. Why isn't it working? Did they take it? Did I lose it? Did I? Oh my, he's awake. And already attempting violence. How predictably heroic. Izuku's head whipped toward the voice. Whis stood in the center of the room, if it could be called a room. The walls curved like the inside of a geode, crystalline and shimmering, balancing a silver tray with 3 cups of steaming tea. He floated, not walked, toward an absurdly ornate table that hadn't been there a moment ago. Izuku scrambled backward, back hitting the headboard. His fists clenched, knuckles already white. What did you do to my quirk? My friends, they need me. Shigaraki is having a very unpleasant day, I imagine. Beerus materialized on a throne that grew from the floor like crystallized light. He yawned, revealing fangs. Your All Might person was quite loud after you left. The screaming carried across dimensional barriers. Annoying. All Might. The name punched through Izuku's ribs. Did he? Alive. Melodramatic, but alive. Beerus waved dismissively. As are your colorful little teammates. The war ended 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't. Izuku had been unconscious for how long? Minutes? Hours? He'd just been fighting, That's impossible. His voice cracked. The battlefield was. Time moves differently here. Whis explained, setting a teacup in front of Izuku with serene precision. What felt like moments to you was considerably longer on Earth. The battle at Jaku City concluded approximately 21 Earth days ago. Your allies were victorious, though. He paused, taking a delicate sip of tea. Victorious may be generous. 73% casualties among active combatants. Infrastructure damage estimated at. Stop. Izuku's hands clenched tighter, nails biting into scarred palms hard enough to draw blood. His eyes burned. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Crying was for later, after he understood, but the tears pressed behind his eyelids anyway, hot and insistent. Just tell me. Who died? Beerus' ear twitched. Does it matter? They're mortals. Mortals die. It's what they do. It matters to me. The words ripped out before Izuku could stop them. Before the analytical part of his brain, the part that calculated threat levels and optimal responses, could remind him he was shouting at a being who'd literally torn through reality to kidnap him. Silence. Then Beerus smiled. Not kindly. The expression carried 75 million years of watching civilizations rise and fall. Good, he said simply. If it didn't matter, you'd be useless to me. Izuku opened his mouth, closed it. His mind spun through scenarios, strategies, conversation trees. Nothing fit. Nothing in his hero training, in All Might's teachings, in 37 notebooks worth of analysis had prepared him for this. I don't understand. He hated how small his voice sounded. Why am I here? What do you want from me? Tea first. Whis gestured to the untouched cup. I went through considerable effort to replicate Earth's green tea composition. It would be terribly rude to let it grow cold. It was such a normal request, so absurdly, devastatingly normal, that Izuku's hands moved before his brain caught up. He lifted the cup, sipped. It tasted like his mother's kitchen, like Sunday mornings before UA, like a life that felt impossibly far away. A tear escaped, just one. He wiped it away quickly, hoping they hadn't noticed. They had. His staff glowed faintly. Symbols, beautiful, incomprehensible, flickered in the air beside him before fading. Taking notes. He was taking notes on Izuku's breakdown like it was a particularly interesting science experiment. Your heroism, Beerus said, studying him like a scientist observing a particularly interesting bacteria culture, is like over-fermented miso. Pungent. Overwhelming. It seeps into everything around you until even the air tastes like self-sacrifice. His tail swished once. Do you know how rare that is? True heroism, not the performance. The disease, not the symptom. I don't. Izuku set the cup down before his shaking hands could drop it. I'm not sick. Heroism isn't a disease. Isn't it? Beerus leaned forward. You break yourself repeatedly. Calculate your own destruction. Choose others' survival over your own with mathematical precision. You're infected with purpose so virulent it rewrote your cellular structure just to accommodate borrowed power. He gestured at Izuku's scarred arms. Those aren't battle wounds. They're stigmata. He's not wrong. A traitorous voice whispered in Izuku's mind. The same voice that counted every injury, every person saved, every failure to save more. Izuku's analytical cascade stuttered. I do what heroes do, what All Might taught me. Save people with a smile. Plus ultra. That's why you're qualified. The words hit like a physical blow. Qualified? Izuku's voice pitched higher. For what? I don't. You said something about succession, about his breath hitched. I'm not a destroyer. I'm a hero. I save people. Yes, exactly. Beerus' smile widened fractionally. Most beings who seek destruction power do so from hate. Revenge. Megalomania. Boring motivations. Predictable. He stood, and despite his height, barely taller than Izuku, the movement felt like a mountain deciding to walk. What you would destroy from love. To preserve. To protect the larger whole by excising the infected parts. His golden eyes locked onto Izuku's green ones. Tell me, little hero, if destroying one planet saved a galaxy, would you? The moral calculus hit Izuku like all for one's air cannon. One planet. Billions of lives. One galaxy. Trillions of lives. The math was simple. The answer impossible. His throat closed. I would find another way. There's always another. There isn't. Beerus' voice dropped to something quiet. Dangerous. In this scenario, there is no clever strategy. No sacrifice play. No plus-ultra moment that saves everyone. The planet dies, or the galaxy does. Choose. Izuku's hand moved to his chin unconsciously. His thinking gesture, the one he'd had since childhood. Variables. Planet population, galaxy population, time remaining, potential for evacuation, quirk applications, environmental factors that could. You're calculating, Whis observed, tone pleased. His staff glowed again. More symbols, more notes. How fascinating. Most mortals answer with emotion. You're trying to solve it. Because there has to be a solution. Izuku's fists clenched again, knuckles going white. If I think hard enough, there's always a way where everyone dies. Beerus stood, walking toward the window, overlooking his domain. That's the answer you're avoiding. In my scenario, everyone dies regardless. Quickly or slowly. Painlessly or in agony. The only variable is scale. He glanced back. So I'll ask again. One planet or one galaxy? The question hung in the air like a suspended execution. Izuku's mouth opened. Closed. His entire worldview, built on All Might's smile, on saving everyone, on never giving up, collided with a math problem that had no heroic solution. The word barely made it out. The planet. It felt like admitting murder. Why? Whis asked, genuinely curious. Because Izuku's voice cracked. His eyes burned again, and this time he couldn't stop the tears. They ran down his cheeks silently while he forced the words out. Because the numbers, the planet is billions, the galaxy is trillions, and I hate it. I hate that I'm thinking in numbers like people are just calculations, but if I have to choose, then the math says. He couldn't finish. Couldn't say it out loud. Beerus' expression shifted. Something that might have been approval. You understand, he said quietly. That's why you're here. Not because you want to destroy. Because you understand that sometimes love means letting go. Heroism, at cosmic scale, isn't saving everyone. It's choosing who lives when you can't save both. That's not heroism. Izuku wiped at his eyes with the back of his hand, angry at himself for crying, angry at the tears that wouldn't stop. That's just execution. Yes. Beerus turned fully. I am the god of destruction. Execution is my function. The universe requires balance, creation and destruction, growth and decay. I am the pruning that allows the garden to flourish. His tail swished. I'm old boy. 75 million years of deciding which civilizations thrive and which turn to dust. I'm tired, and I want a successor who will make those choices from compassion, not indifference. But I can't. Izuku's breath came in short gasps. I can't be what you're describing. I'm supposed to save people, not decide who dies. Then you'll fail. Beerus' voice carried no malice. Just fact. And when you fail, someone less careful will take this power. Someone who destroys from hate, not love. Someone who won't hesitate, won't agonize, won't count the dead. He met Izuku's eyes. Would you prefer that outcome? It was a trap. A perfect, philosophical trap with no escape. I want to go home, Izuku whispered. My friends, they think I'm dead or captured, or I need to tell them I'm okay. I need to, after the test. Whis set down his teacup with a soft clink. Lord Beerus requires proof you're capable before investing training time. Surely you understand. One doesn't adopt a student without verifying aptitude. Test. Izuku's analytical mind latched onto the word like a lifeline. Tests had parameters, rules, win conditions. What kind of test? Beerus' smile returned. Destroy a star system. The words didn't process. Couldn't. A star system. Izuku's voice was flat, distant. You want me to destroy a star system? A dying one, was clarified, as if that made it better. The star went supernova 3 centuries ago. The shockwave is currently en route to annihilate 17 inhabited planets. We're simply accelerating the process. The planets die regardless. Your task is to destroy them quickly, before the star's radiation reaches them. Mercy through efficiency. There are people on those planets. Not a question. Beerus corrected. Evacuated 50 years ago when we detected the supernova. The planets are empty, barren, geologically unstable, and cosmically doomed. He tilted his head. This is the gentlest possible first test, child. I'm not asking you to kill. I'm asking you to erase what's already dead. Izuku's mind spun. Empty planets. Already evacuated. Doomed regardless. It was the trolley problem with cosmic stakes. Do nothing, and the supernova destroys them slowly. Act, and he destroys them quickly. Either way, they died. And if I refuse? His voice was barely audible. Then I take you home. Beerus shrugged. You return to your hero career. Savor dozens of people per year. Die heroically at age 40 from accumulated damage. His expression hardened. And in 2,000 years, when I finally succumb to age, some power-hungry sadist takes my role and exterminates galaxies for amusement. Your choice. Izuku's hand shook. This wasn't heroism. Wasn't saving people. This was philosophy and math and impossible choices wrapped in cosmic indifference. But the alternative, if I don't do this, someone worse will. It was the same logic that made him accept one for all. The same reasoning that drove every sacrifice play. Someone had to carry the burden. If not him, then who? He met Beerus' eyes, saw 75 million years of weight reflected back. I need time to think, to process what You have 30 seconds, Beerus interrupted. The supernova shockwave is accelerating. If you take too long deciding, the radiation will make planetary approach lethal, even for gods. The test becomes impossible, and you fail by default. 30. Izuku's protest died. That's not fair. Cosmic threats don't wait for you to feel ready, child. Beerus' voice carried something that might have been sympathy. Every second you hesitate, something dies. Welcome to godhood, where every choice is impossible, and inaction is also a choice. Whis stood, staff materializing in his hand. I should mention, Lord Beerus has never offered this opportunity to anyone. In 75 million years, you are the first potential successor he's bothered to test. His eyes, serene and purple, met Izuku's. That should tell you something about your character. What it tells you, well, that's rather up to you, isn't it? The words felt like a key turning in a lock Izuku hadn't known existed. Beerus saw something in him, something worthy of this nightmare responsibility. The question was, did Izuku see it too? 20 seconds, Beerus said calmly. Izuku's mind raced. Variables. Empty planets, supernova shockwave, 17 worlds, cosmic scale destruction, moral implications, alternative solutions. No alternative solutions. Just the same choice in different words. Quick death or slow death. Mercy or cruelty. 10 seconds. Izuku closed his eyes. Thought of All Might. Of his mother, of Uraraka and Bakugo and everyone he'd sworn to protect. Thought of a universe without someone willing to make impossible choices. 5. I'm sorry, he thought, to no one and everyone. I'm so sorry. His fists unclenched, his breathing steadied. When he opened his eyes, the tears had stopped. I'll do it, Izuku whispered. When he opened his eyes, they were already standing in space. Space had no air, but Izuku couldn't breathe anyway. The star hung before him, massive, dying, beautiful in the way only doomed things could be. Its surface roiled with plasma storms, each one larger than Jupiter, and deep within its core, Izuku could feel the collapse beginning. Gravity crushing atoms. Fusion failing. The precise moment before detonation. But worse, infinitely worse, were the planets. 12 worlds orbited the dying sun, and Izuku could sense every single life on them. Not as numbers, not as statistics, as people. 7 billion individual heartbeats. A mother tucking her child in a bed on the 3rd planet, humming a lullaby in a language Izuku didn't know but somehow understood. A father on the 7th world, working late, thinking about surprising his daughter with her favorite meal. Teenagers on the 5th planet, laughing at something stupid immortal in the way only youth could be. A hospital in a ninth world where someone had just been born and someone else had just died, and both were held by people who loved them. 7 billion lives, and Izuku could feel them all pressing against his newly awakened divine senses like a tsunami of existence. His hands shook. "The math is quite simple," Whis said, floating beside him with that infuriating serenity, staff glowing faintly. "The star will achieve supernova criticality in approximately 47 minutes. The resulting explosion will annihilate all 12 planets within 6 hours. Evacuation is impossible. Even at maximum warp speed, their primitive vessels would require 3 weeks to evacuate a single planet. There are 12. Then Izuku's voice cracked. His body tried to activate full cowling on instinct, 45%, same as always, but nothing came. Just hollow silence where power used to hum. "We help them evacuate. I can move people, I can." "With what power?" Beerus yawned, examining one claw with theatrical boredom. "Your mortal quirk doesn't function here. You haven't mastered destruction energy. You're a child with a loaded gun you don't know how to fire." His golden eyes flicked toward Izuku. "The only power you have right now is the power I'm lending you. And I'm only lending it for one purpose." Izuku's hand moved to his chin. Old habit. Thinking gesture from childhood, as if the familiar motion could help him solve the unsolvable. Variables, star collapse rate, planetary positions, potential for force field generation, time dilation effects, quirk factor adaptation to cosmic environment, emergency broadcast systems. "You're calculating again." Whis sounded pleased. His staff glowed, divine script flickering as he documented Izuku's thought process with the clinical precision of a scientist observing a rat in a maze. Searching for the heroic solution. The clever strategy that saves everyone with minimal sacrifice. Because there has to be one. Izuku's fists clenched, knuckles white even in the starlight. "There's always, if I just think hard enough, if I analyze the right variables." "There isn't." Beerus' voice carried the weight of 75 million years. "This is the test, boy. Not of your power. You don't have power yet. This is a test of understanding." He gestured at the dying star. "That sun is already dead. Its core exhausted its hydrogen 3 centuries ago. It's been dying slowly, cooking those planets with increasing radiation, making them uninhabitable inch by inch. The people you sense? They're already refugees, waiting for the end they know is coming." Izuku's breath hitched. "Then we evacuate them to other systems. 46 minutes, Whis noted. "And counting." "Stop counting." The words ripped out of Izuku, raw and desperate. Tears burned in his eyes. These are people. 7 billion people with families and dreams. And his voice broke. "I can feel them. I can feel a kid on the 3rd planet who's scared of the dark. And his mom is telling him everything will be okay. But she's lying because she knows they're all going to die, and I can feel her lying." "Good." Beerus' expression didn't change. "Use that. Use." Izuku's hand shook harder. "I don't understand. How is feeling their fear supposed to help me save them?" "Because saving them isn't the heroic rescue you're imagining." Beerus floated closer until those golden eyes filled Izuku's vision. A hero would arrive with fanfare, would fight the villain, in this case the star itself, would evacuate everyone dramatically, would be celebrated. His tail swished once. A god of destruction ends the threat before it becomes catastrophic. We don't fight the supernova. We prevent it. Izuku's analytical mind finally caught up. "You want me to destroy the star? Before it explodes?" "Controlled collapse," was clarified. "Channel destruction energy into the core. Accelerate the implosion, but direct the energy inward instead of outward. The star becomes a neutron star, dense, stable, no longer capable of fusion or explosion. The planets survive. The radiation ceases. 7 billion lives saved. By killing the star." Izuku's voice was hollow. "The star is already dead," Beerus repeated. "You're simply making it official. Choosing how it ends, quickly and cleanly, or slowly and catastrophically." It was the trolley problem again. Different scale, same logic. Do nothing. Everyone dies screaming as the supernova incinerates their atmosphere. Act. The star dies instantly. The planets survive. 7 billion people wake up tomorrow, never knowing how close they came to extinction. I'm sorry. There has to be another way. There has to be. 45 minutes. Whis' voice cut through Izuku's spiraling thoughts. I should mention, if you fail to act, Lord Beerus will handle it himself. Good. Relief flooded through Izuku. Then you can, by erasing the entire system. Beerus said it like he was commenting on the weather. Star and planets. Instant, painless. No survivors to suffer. Clean erasure. The words punched through Izuku's chest. That's murder. That's exactly what you said you didn't want. That's consequences. Beerus' voice dropped to something quiet. Dangerous. This is a test, child. Your test. If you can't handle the responsibility of choosing who lives, then you don't deserve the power to make that choice. And I will ensure your hesitation doesn't result in prolonged suffering. His eyes locked onto Izuku's. I've watched civilizations burn because someone heroic refused to make hard choices. I won't allow it in my successor. I'm not your successor. I'm a hero. I save people, I don't. You don't what? Beerus' tail lashed. Make impossible choices? Decide who lives and dies? Break yourself for strangers. He gestured at Izuku's scarred arms. You've been doing that since the moment you received one for all. The only difference is scale. You broke your bones for dozens. I'm asking you to break your heart for billions. Izuku's breath came in short, sharp gasps. His vision blurred, tears freely flowing now, because what did it matter if God saw him cry? I can't just. A flash of memory, All Might smile. A hero always saves people with a smile, no matter what. Another flash, Ares' terrified face, horn glowing, her quirk destroying her from the inside. Stop it. Please, just let me go. Shigaraki's hand, reaching for his face, 5 fingers ready to decay, everything Izuku was. Heroes and villains, both think they're right. But I'll show you. I'll destroy everything you love. Katsuki's voice, desperate from Kamino. I didn't ask for your help, Deku. His mother's face, the day his quirk didn't manifest. I'm so sorry, Izuku. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. There has to be another way. All Might, what would you do? What would you? 40 minutes, was said softly. His staff glowed again. More symbols, more clinical documentation of Izuku's psychological collapse. Izuku's hands moved to his face, pressing against his eyes, trying to stop the tears. Trying to think. Trying to find the hero solution that didn't exist. Because Beerus was right. In this scenario, heroism was impossible. He could save 7 billion people, but only by choosing to destroy the star. By taking an action that ended something, even if that something was already dying. The choice wasn't between saving and not saving. It was between active mercy and passive cruelty. His voice broke. I don't know if I can. Then they die. Beerus' response was flat. In 40 minutes, I erase the system. You return to Earth. You resume your hero career, saving your dozens per year. And in 3 decades, you die young from accumulated injuries. That's your alternative. That's not. Izuku's protest died. Because it was fair. Horrifically, devastatingly fair. I'm 17. I'm just a kid who wanted to save people. I'm not ready for this. I'm not strong enough for this. I'm not. You are. The words came from Whis. Not mocking. Not passive-aggressive. Just certain. You are strong enough to feel 7 billion lives and still make the choice. That's why you're here. Anyone can kill without feeling. You'll kill while feeling and carry the weight and choose to do it again when necessary. His purple eyes met Izuku's. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing in the universe. Izuku's breath shuddered. His hands fell from his face, still shaking, still useless. He looked at the dying star, felt the 7 billion heartbeats, thought about the 3rd planet, the mother and child, the lullaby. If he did nothing, she'd die holding her son. They'd both burn. The lullaby would end mid-note. If he acted, they'd wake up tomorrow. She'd make breakfast. The child would complain about school. They'd never know. No glory, no gratitude, no witnesses. Just the quiet knowledge that he'd chosen to end something to preserve everything else. Is this what it means to be a god of destruction? To save people by destroying what threatens them? 35 minutes, Whis whispered. Izuku closed his eyes, took a breath that tasted like salt and grief, raised one trembling hand toward the dying star. I'm sorry, he whispered. To the star, to All Might, to himself. I'm so sorry. Purple gold energy erupted from his palm. Not controlled, not mastered. It poured through him like grief, made tangible, like every apology he'd ever meant, like the weight of 7 billion heartbeats compressed into a single choice. It hurt. Divine power scorched through his nervous system. Too much, too fast, burning pathways that weren't meant to channel this kind of energy. His veins lit up purple gold beneath his skin. His eyes burned. His chest felt like it was caving in. But the energy reached the star, touched its failing core, and squeezed. Reality inverted. The star's outer layers collapsed inward, not outward. Plasma compressed. Gravity intensified. In the span of 3 heartbeats, a dying sun the size of a solar system compressed into a sphere 15 miles across. Dense, stable, neutron degenerate. No explosion. No shockwave. No incineration. Just transition. From dying to dead. From threat to memory. The planets survived. 12 worlds, suddenly bathed in different light. Cooler, stranger, but survivable. 7 billion people lived. None of them knew. Izuku's hand fell. The divine energy cut off like a severed artery, leaving him hollow. His legs gave out, would have collapsed if Whis hadn't caught him with casual precision. Breathe, the angel instructed. Izuku tried. His body refused. His chest heaved, once, twice, and then he twisted, violent and sudden, and vomited into space. Nothing came up. There was nothing in his stomach. But his body tried anyway, convulsing, rejecting something that wasn't physical. Rejecting what he'd just done. I saved them. The words came out broken, wrong. 7 billion people. I saved them. You did, was confirmed gently. So why? Izuku's voice cracked. Why do I feel like a murderer? Silence. Then Beerus spoke. Not mocking. Not bored. Just honest. Because you are one. The words hit like a physical blow. The star was dying, yes, but it was still alive, still fusing helium in its core, still generating heat and light. You ended that, chose to end it. Beerus floated into Izuku's line of sight, golden eyes serious. You committed an execution, a mercy execution, but execution nonetheless. And you felt every second of it. Then I failed. Izuku's tears fell silently. I failed the test. I'm a murderer. I'm exactly what heroes fight against. No. Beerus' expression shifted. Something that might have been approval. You passed. What? A god of destruction who feels nothing is just entropy with a face. Dangerous. Unstable. Inevitably tyrannical. His tail swished once. But a god of destruction who destroys while feeling everything. Who carries the weight of every choice. Who grieves what must be ended. He studied Izuku with something that might have been respect. That's someone who'll only destroy what truly must die. But Izuku's voice shook. I hate this. I hate that I did it. I hate that it was the right choice, and I still feel like I killed something. Good. Beerus' response was firm. You should hate it. You should feel it. The day you stop hating it. The day you stop grieving the things you destroy. His voice dropped. That's the day you fail, and I'll erase you myself. Whis' staff glowed. The divine script appeared and faded. Notes. Always notes. Congratulations, Izuku Midoriya. The angel said, tone warm beneath the formality. You've successfully completed the first trial. You chose preservation through destruction. You felt the cost. You grieved the necessary loss. He smiled, eyes closed, genuine. You have the soul of a god of destruction. I don't want it. Izuku's voice was barely audible. I don't want this power. I don't want to feel 7 billion lives and choose to end threats to them. I just want to be a hero, save people with a smile. Make All Might proud. Then you'll have to choose, Beerus said simply. Return to Earth. Resume heroism at planetary scale. Die young. Let someone worse take my power when I'm gone. He paused. Or stay. Train. Learn to carry impossible weight with impossible grace. Become what the universe needs instead of what you dreamed. The choice hung between them, heavy as a collapsed star. Izuku closed his eyes, felt the 7 billion heartbeats still thrumming through his divine senses. Alive, safe, ignorant of how close they'd come. He thought of All Might, of the smile that promised salvation. He thought of this. Cosmic scale, no witnesses, no glory, just the quiet weight of impossible choices made in the dark. If I stay, Izuku whispered, will I stop being Izuku Midoriya? Whis' smile faded. His voice, when it came, was gentle as starlight. That depends entirely on you. Month 1. Simulation City Alpha 7. The city looked real. Too real. Izuku could see the simulated people, pixelated but detailed, walking through streets, laughing in cafes, living lives that technically didn't exist but felt close enough to make his chest tight. Whis had explained the scenario with his usual clinical precision. Villain in the Central Plaza, hostage situation, conventional hero response time, 12 minutes. Simulated casualties, if unchecked, 4,000 to 6,000 depending on variables. Your task is simple, Whis said, staff glowing faintly. End the threat. Minimize casualties. You have as many attempts as necessary. The villain, a hulking mass of corrupted code designed to mimic Muscular's brutality, grabbed a child. Pixelated, simulated, not real, but Izuku's body moved on instinct anyway. Wait. His voice cracked, stutter still present under stress. We can negotiate if I just... The villain tore through 3 city blocks. The casualty counter in Izuku's peripheral vision climbed. 847. 1,203. 1,847. Whis staff tapped once. Reality rewound. Again, Izuku tried evacuation. Spent 8 minutes using destruction energy to create barriers, channeling civilians away from the danger zone. The villain used those 8 minutes to level the financial district. Casualties, 3,421. Again, he tried negotiation, approached with hands raised, analyzing the villain's attack patterns, searching for the psychological pressure point that would. The villain wasn't programmed for negotiation. It was programmed to kill. Casualties, 5,982. Again, he tried precision strikes. His hand moved to his chin, thinking gesture, calculating the angles, attempting to use destruction energy like a scalpel. Erase the villain's weapon, then his mobility, then... Too slow. The simulated people kept dying while he calculated. Casualties, 2,764. Again, how many times? Izuku's hand shook. How many times do I watch them die? Until you understand, Whis said calmly, divine script flickering as he documented each failure with clinical precision. That hesitation is also a choice. And choices have consequences. Izuku's fist clenched. His eyes burned, not with tears anymore. Those had stopped after the 14th reset, with something else. Something purple gold and vast. The simulation reset. This time he didn't wait, didn't analyze, didn't try to save the villain. Purple gold energy erupted from his palm, controlled this time, precise, and erased the villain and half the city block in a single motion. The threat vanished. The buildings collapsed into dust. The simulation ended. Casualties, 0. Acceptable, Whis said, though you destroyed significantly more infrastructure than necessary. Your precision requires work. Izuku stared at his hands. They'd stopped shaking. I saved them. You did. Whis floated closer. By destroying first and analyzing second. By prioritizing results over feelings. His purple eyes met Izuku's green ones. Or were they purple gold now? Hard to tell. Feelings are mortal luxuries, Izuku. Gods cannot afford them. That's not. Izuku's protest died. Because the numbers didn't lie. Hesitation killed 5,982 people. Action killed 0. Again, Whis said. New scenario. Month 3. Emotional detachment training. Izuku floated 3 inches off the ground without realizing it. It had become habit, his body rejecting Earth's gravity like it rejected sleep, food that wasn't perfectly prepared, the concept of rest. Divine physiology didn't need what mortal bodies needed. It was efficient, clinical, empty. Your speech patterns are improving. Whis observed over tea, always during the worst lessons. You've stopped apologizing reflexively, stopped stuttering under pressure. Even your muttering has become more contemplative, less frantic. Izuku's hand moved toward his chin, old thinking gesture, but stopped halfway. The motion felt foreign, like muscle memory from someone else's life. When had he stopped doing that? When had unconscious habit become conscious effort? A flash of memory surfaced. Was making him repeat, "I will not apologize," 10,000 times while simulations burned in his peripheral vision. Making him narrate casualty counts without emotional inflection. Clinically, efficiently, 3,482 dead. Acceptable losses given operational parameters. Over and over until the words lost meaning. Until apology itself became foreign. Is that good? His voice was slower now, deliberate. Each word weighed before spoken. That depends entirely on your perspective. Whis took a delicate sip. Lord Beerus has noted the change as well. He find it promising. I find it concerning. Why? Because he used to cry when simulations died. Now you calculate their deaths with the same analytical detachment you once reserved for quirk analysis. Whis set down his cup with a soft clink. Tell me, when did you stop seeing them as people? The question hit like a physical blow. Izuku's voice caught. I still see them as people. I understand that saving them requires. Requires what? Sacrifice. The word tasted like ash. Not my sacrifice. Theirs. The buildings. The infrastructure. He couldn't finish. The ones you cannot save. Was finished gently. Yes, godhood is the art of triage at cosmic scale. You're learning, whether that's progress or tragedy. He smiled, eyes closed. Time will tell. Month 5, Beerus test. I'm going to destroy Earth. Beerus said it the way someone might comment on the weather. Casual, bored, completely serious. Izuku's body moved before his mind caught up. Purple gold energy exploding around him in a corona of barely controlled rage. The training ground cracked. Reality distorted. His eyes blazed full gold. No. The word came out flat. Absolute. You won't. Beerus' ear twitched. Right ear intrigued. And his smile widened fractionally. Oh. And how exactly would you stop me, candidate? I don't know. Izuku's fists clenched. Divine energy crackling between his fingers. But I die trying. And I'd take you with me. Silence. Then Beerus laughed. A sound like distant thunder. Rare and genuine. Good. Very good. He gestured, and the pressure dissipated. Destruction fueled by love is sustainable. It doesn't burn out because the source is infinite. His golden eyes studied Izuku with something that might have been pride. Destruction fueled by hate consumes the destroyer. You understand the difference. Izuku's energy faded. His hands shook, first time in weeks. You're testing me. Always. Beerus yawned. If you'd accepted Earth's destruction logically, calculated that one planet versus universal balance was acceptable mathematics, I'd have erased you on the spot. His tail swished. A god of destruction who doesn't care what they destroy is just entropy with a pulse. Worthless. So I'm supposed to care. Izuku's voice was hollow. But also not let caring stop me from destroying what must be destroyed. Now you're learning. Beerus turned away. Love what you protect. Grieve what you destroy. But destroy anyway. That's the burden. Ow! The word ripped out of Izuku. Desperate, young. The first time he'd sounded like himself in months. How do I do both? Beerus didn't look back. You don't. You just do. Over and over. Until it breaks you or makes you. A pause. I'm betting on the latter. Month 9. Whis observation. You cry less now, Whis noted, watching Izuku complete his 100th simulation without hesitation. Perfect execution. 0 casualties. 0 emotion. Izuku's response was delayed, too busy listening to a cosmic disturbance 3 galaxies away that mortals couldn't hear. Is that progress? I'm unsure. Whis' tone carried something unusual. Concern, perhaps, or regret. When you first arrived, you cried for simulated people. You apologized to empty air. You broke yourself trying to find the impossible solution that saved everyone. He tapped his staff once. Now you calculate optimal destruction paths with the efficiency of a machine. You stopped sleeping. Stopped smiling. Stopped being. Being what? Izuku Midoriya. Whis met his eyes. Purple gold now. Definitely purple gold. You're becoming an excellent god of destruction candidate. I simply wonder what you're sacrificing to get there. Izuku's hand moved to his chin, old habit resurfacing, and froze halfway. The gesture felt like someone else's. Everything, he whispered. I'm sacrificing everything. Yes. Whis' voice was gentle as starlight. The question is, will anything remain when you're done? Month 12, final test. Fight me. Beerus stood in the center of the training ground, hands behind his back, looking bored. Don't hold back. Don't calculate. Don't think. Just fight. Izuku's eyes shifted to gold. Divine energy flooded his system, controlled now, precise, no longer burning through him like grief. He'd learned to channel it, learned to make it his. He moved. His body reacted before thought. Incomplete ultra instinct, 30% mastery at best, muscles responding to killing intent before his brain registered the threat. Izuku's form blurred, dodging Beerus' first strike by a hair's breadth. Not enough. Beerus caught his follow-up punch without looking, turned it aside with casual grace, tapped Izuku's chest with one claw. Reality inverted. Izuku found himself on his back 30 feet away, body screaming, unable to move. The fight had lasted 2 moves. Maybe 3 if he was generous. You're not ready, Beerus said, walking away. Your ultra instinct is incomplete. Your destruction energy lacks finesse. You're too slow. Too hesitant, too human. He paused. But Earth doesn't have time for ready. The rod is coming, and when it arrives, you'll need to be what I've trained you to be. His golden eyes looked back, where everyone you loved dies. Simple mathematics. Izuku lay there, staring at the purple sky of Beerus' planet. His body wouldn't move, divine paralysis, teaching technique, reminder of how far he still had to fall before he could stand. Whis. His voice was steady, detached. Wrong. How long until Earth? Time dilation makes precise calculation difficult, but approximately. The angel consulted his staff. 23 hours in Earth time. They'll have experienced 1 year since your departure. You'll return tomorrow. 1 year. They'd mourned him for a year. Izuku should have felt guilt, horror, desperate need to explain, to apologize, to make them understand. He felt nothing, just cold calculation. 1 year equals acceptable time frame. They survived without him equals confirmation of capability. Return with power equals optimal scenario for threat response. When had he stopped feeling? When had he stopped caring? I still care, he told himself, but the words felt hollow. I just learned to carry it differently. Final night. Izuku stood before the crystalline mirror in his quarters that had stopped feeling like a prison months ago and started feeling like home. Wrong. Terrible. True. The reflection staring back was a stranger. Taller, 5 feet 7 inches now, 2 inches from divine conditioning. Leaner, more defined, muscles like coiled wire. Hair swept back, controlled, touched with purple in the right light. Eyes that shifted purple gold depending on emotional state. Except he wasn't sure he had emotional states anymore. Just calculations, priorities, acceptable losses. The Izuku Midoriya, who'd been kidnapped from Jaku City, wouldn't recognize this person. That Izuku apologized reflexively, stuttered under pressure, cried when simulations died, kept hero notebooks, idolized all might to the point of self-destruction, believed, truly, desperately believed, that heroes saved everyone with a smile. This Izuku understood that smiles were luxuries, that apologies were wasted breath, that sometimes love meant letting people die so others could live. "Who are you?" he whispered to the reflection. The reflection didn't answer, just stared back with purple gold eyes that had seen stars collapse and civilizations fall and 7 billion lives saved through mercy execution. Eyes that had stopped crying 3 months ago and didn't know how to start again. Behind him, the door opened. Whis entered without knocking. Angels didn't knock, carrying 2 cups of tea. "Tomorrow you return to Earth," the angels said, offering 1 cup. "Your classmates will have aged 1 year. Your mentor will have spent that year believing he failed you. Your mother will have grieved a son she thinks is dead." He took a delicate sip. "Are you prepared for that?" Izuku accepted the tea, drank without tasting. "No." "Good. Certainty is the enemy of growth." Whis studied him with those serene purple eyes. "You've learned destruction. You've learned detachment. You've learned to calculate acceptable losses with divine efficiency." A pause. "Tomorrow you'll learn if you can remember how to be human while being a god. And if I can't, then you'll have power and purpose." Whis' smile faded. "But you'll lose what made you worthy of that power in the first place." He set down his cup. "Lord Beerus chose you because you hesitated before destroying, because you grieved impossible choices, because you were a hero who'd rather break his body than let others suffer." His voice dropped. "If you lose that, I'm not certain what you'll become, but it won't be what we need." Izuku looked back at the mirror, at the stranger with God's eyes. "I'm still me," he said, but it sounded like a question. Whis didn't answer, just collected the empty cups and left. Izuku stood alone in the crystalline room, floating unconsciously, breathing without needing to, heart beating at exactly optimal efficiency. Still him. Had to be. Because if it wasn't, if Izuku Midoriya had died somewhere between Simulation 700 and now, then what was he becoming? His reflection offered no answer. Just purple gold eyes staring back from a face he'd once known. Tomorrow, Earth. Tomorrow, Class 2. Tomorrow, All Might. Tomorrow, he'd find out if any of Izuku Midoriya remained, or if the God of Destruction had already won. UA Academy, Class 2A Common Room, 11:47 p.m. Again. Bakugo's voice cracked like a whip through the common room, explosions crackling in his palms as Kirishima stumbled back from the force of the blast. Controlled, precise, meant to pressure, not maim. Your guard dropped for half a second. Shitty hair. Half a second is all it takes for some cosmic bastard to erase you. His crimson eyes blazed with something beyond anger, something closer to desperation. Harden faster. React faster, or you're dead. The rest of Class 2, a watch from various positions around the room. Some training, some pretending to study, all of them too wired to sleep despite the late hour. It had been like this for months. Bakugo drilling them past midnight, pushing harder than Aizawa ever had, refusing to let them rest, refusing to let them be weak when Deku came back. If he came back. No one said that part out loud. "Kakin," Kirishima panted, hardening flickering across his skin in exhausted bursts. "Man, we've been at this for 4 hours. Maybe we should." "Should what?" Bakugo's explosions flared hotter. "Take a break? Get soft? Deck is out there somewhere, kidnapped by gods, or dead in a ditch, or fighting something we can't even imagine. And you want to take a break?" He grabbed Kirishima's shoulder, fingers tight enough to bruise. "When he gets back, I'm not letting him see us weak. Not happening. So harden up and go again." The room fell silent. No one argued. They'd learned months ago that arguing with Bakugo about this was pointless. He blamed himself. They all knew it. Blamed himself for not being fast enough to stop whatever took Izuku. For surviving when his childhood rival vanished into purple gold light in the middle of a war. For being here when Deku wasn't. Momo stood from the couch, materializing a water bottle. "Bakugo-san, perhaps we should." She paused, gaze drifting to the corner of the room, to Izuku's empty desk. They left it exactly as it was. Hero Notebook number 37 still open to the page on Shigaraki's decay quirk, pencil resting in the margin where he'd been mid-analysis. All Might's signature on a training schedule pinned above. Red shoes tucked underneath, waiting for feet that might never fill them again. No one sat there. No one touched it, like a shrine to someone who might not be dead, but felt close enough. The conversation died the way it always did when someone looked at that desk too long. Yeah. Momo's voice was soft. Never mind. Bakugo turned away, explosions dying in his palms. Later, after Kirishima collapsed into exhausted sleep, after the others finally dragged themselves to their rooms, he'd sit at that desk, would open that notebook, would read Izuku's frantic analysis, scrawled in the margins, still trying to understand how his rival's mind worked, still trying to be worthy when Deku came home. But he'd never admit it. UA Academy, Training Gym Delta, 2:14 a.m. Uraraka's fist connected with the punching bag for the 2,847th time that session. She'd counted. She always counted. 387 days since Izuku vanished. 387 days of training until her quirk's nausea felt like background noise. 387 days of not sleeping more than 3 hours a night because the nightmares were worse than the exhaustion. Her knuckles were bloody, had been for the past hour, but she'd stopped noticing pain somewhere around day 200. Recovery Girl had stopped lecturing her about it around day 250. Now she just sighed and healed the damage without comment. Thud, thud, thud. Deku would tell me to rest, she whispered to the empty gym. Her voice echoed off the walls. He'd stutter and apologize and analyze my muscle fatigue down to the percentage and insist I was overworking myself. Thud, thud, thud. But Deku isn't here. Her vision blurred. Not tears. She'd stopped crying around day 100. Same way Bakugo had stopped sleeping. Same way Todoroki had stopped eating anything but soba. Grief had calcified into routine. Routine into obsession. She floated the punching bag, slammed it into the ceiling, caught it on the way down, and repeated. Meteor Storm practice. The technique she developed specifically for cosmic scale threats, because if Izuku was fighting gods, then she needed to be able to fight beside him. Needed to be strong enough that he couldn't push her away. Needed to be. The gym door opened. Todoroki stood silhouetted in the doorway, heterochromatic eyes, unreadable. You're up late, he said. Statement, not question. So are you. Couldn't sleep. The stars are. He paused. Louder than usual. Uraraka lowered the punching bag. Louder. I don't know how else to describe it. Todoroki walked to the window, frost spreading across his right side unconsciously. For the past week, when I meditate on the roof, I hear something. Not sound, just presence, like the universe is holding its breath. His eyes met hers. Do you think he's alive? The question hung between them, raw, desperate, the thing none of them dared ask out loud in front of the others. Uraraka's fingers touched together. Old nervous habit, quirk activation gesture that had become a comfort tick. I have to believe he is. Because if he's not, then I've been training for nothing. And I can't. I can't accept that. We became stronger, Todoroki said quietly, watching frost patterns crawl across the glass. All of us. Bakugo leads like a general now. You fight like you're trying to break gravity itself. Eta coordinates operations that pro-heroes struggle with. We're not the same class that watched Midoriya disappear. But we're not whole. His left side ignited, melting the frost. A body can function without its heart, but it's not alive. Just moving. Hero Public Safety Commission. Emergency meeting room, 2:43 a.m. All Might stared at the screen, skeletal hand trembling against the table. The footage played on loop. The Rot's first appearance in Hosa City. Reality tearing like wet paper. Buildings, people, existence unraveling into nothing. Not destroyed, not exploded, just erased. Ceasing to be as if they'd never existed at all. Endeavor's flames had passed through it. Ryukyu's claws found no purchase. Eraserhead's quirk did nothing, because it wasn't a quirk. It was something older, something wrong. In 3 days, it had erased 17 city blocks. For 1,000 people. Gone. Not dead, there were no bodies. Just absence where presence used to be. All Might's sand. The commission president's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts. Her fingers drummed against the tablet displaying Japan's hero rankings. Shattered after the Jaku disaster, barely recovered. Your expertise is requested. The top 10 heroes can't stop this thing. Endeavor at number 1, Hawks at number 2, Best Jeanist at number 3. All useless. What are we dealing with? Tashinori couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. Because he'd seen that purple-black energy signature before. 1 year ago, when something tore through reality and took his successor. He coughed, blood spattering into his handkerchief. It's not from Earth. Obviously, the president's eyes narrowed. But what is it? His voice broke. I don't know. But the energy signature, the way it tears through dimensional barriers. His hand touched his chest scar. 1 year ago, something appeared at Jaku City. Purple gold light. Divine pressure that froze combatants mid-strike. It took young Midoriya and vanished. Silence. Endeavor leaned forward, flames flickering around his head. You think the two incidents are connected? I think, Tashinori whispered, that whatever took my student is coming back. And I think he couldn't finish. Couldn't voice the terrible hope clawing up his throat. That maybe Izuku was still alive. That maybe he'd been training. That maybe... First, Shigaraki escapes during the Jaku chaos. The president muttered, scrolling through disaster reports. Then this rock creature appears. Our society is fracturing, all might. The symbol of peace is gone. The number 1 hero can't stop this threat. If we don't find a solution. The emergency sirens blared. Red lights flooded the conference room. Alert! A hero burst through the door, tablet clutched in shaking hands. The rot just appeared in Tokyo, Shinjuku district, moving toward UA Academy. All Might was out of his seat before conscious thought, skeletal form sprinting for the door with speed that belied his broken body. Behind him, he heard Endeavor bark orders, heard the commission president mobilizing every available pro-hero, heard the controlled chaos of heroes preparing for a threat they didn't understand. But Tashinori heard only one thing. His students were in danger. And he'd failed one student already. He wouldn't fail them again. UA Academy, rooftop, 3:01 a.m. Todoroki saw it first. Aurora, purple gold light bleeding across Tokyo's sky like oil on water, distorting stars, bending space itself. Beautiful, terrible, wrong in a way that made his fire and ice both flare in unconscious response. He'd been meditating, listening to that cosmic pressure that had been building for days, when the sky simply changed. What? His breath misted in the sudden cold. What is that? Below, alarm screamed to life. UA's defensive systems activated. Students poured from dormitories in various states of dress, quirks flaring, eyes locked on the sky. Bakugo hit the roof at a sprint, explosions propelling him upward. The hell is, his eyes widened. For the first time in 387 days, fear crossed his face. No, that's... The aurora intensified. Reality rippled. And something stepped through. Not the rot. Not a villain. A boy, taller than they remembered. Eyes that shifted purple gold in the aurora light. Hair swept back, touched with purple undertones. Posture unnaturally perfect. Face older, sharper, carrying weight that 17-year-olds shouldn't know. He floated 2 inches above the roof. Not flying, just existing slightly wrong in space. And when his eyes met theirs, Todoroki felt the universe itself holding its breath. Kakin. The voice was slower, deliberate. Each word weighted. Todoroki. A pause. I'm back. Bakugo's explosions died. His face went through a dozen emotions. Rage, relief, confusion, terror, before settling on something raw and broken. Deku. The word came out strangled. You're different, Izuku finished. Yes, I know. In the distance, the purple-gold aurora pulsed once and vanished. In its wake, the rot. Reality tearing through Tokyo's skyline, erasing skyscrapers, moving toward UA with mindless, inevitable hunger. Purple-black void that consumed everything it touched, not destroying, just ending. Izuku's eyes shifted to full gold. Purple gold energy crackled around him, distorting space. "I'm sorry I was gone so long," he said, voice carrying no emotion. "Just fact. But I'm here now, and I'll handle this." He turned toward the rod. Todoroki grabbed his arm and nearly screamed. The energy radiating from Izuku's skin felt like touching a star. Heat and cold and pressure that made his quirk spasm in confused response. "Midoriya, what happened to you?" Izuku looked back, and for just a moment, a single, devastating moment, his eyes flickered green. "Human. Terrified. I became what I needed to be," he whispered. Then the green was gone. Gold returned, and Izuku Midoriya, or whatever he'd become, stepped off the roof and into the sky to face the end of the world. Behind them, the rooftop door burst open. All Might emerged, skeletal form heaving, blue eyes locked on the figure floating in the distance. On the boy with purple gold eyes who'd once been his successor. "Young Midoriya," he breathed, and the words came out broken. "Devastated. What have they done to you?" UA Academy, Class 2, a common room, 3:17 a.m. Reality didn't tear. It simply stepped aside. Purple gold light condensed in the center of the common room. Not dramatic, not explosive, just a gentle insistence that space make room for something that operated on different rules. The energy dissipated like morning fog, and where there had been nothing, there was Izuku Midoriya. Taller, eyes wrong, floating 2 inches off the ground. 5 seconds of silence that felt like eternity. Then Bakugo moved, explosions crackling in his palms, face twisted in something between rage and relief and terror. "Where the hell were you?" His voice cracked on the last word. Izuku's response was measured. Calm, each word deliberate, weighted with a patience that felt older than 17. "Training. I'm back now. No stutter. No apology. No frantic explanation or tears or the desperate need to make everyone understand that used to pour out of him like a broken dam. Just statement." The room erupted. "Training. For a year." Kirishima, halfway to his feet. "We thought you were dead." Mina, voice pitching high. "Midoriya, you must understand the regulations regarding unauthorized absence." Ida, hand chopping frantically, falling back on structure because structure was safe and this wasn't safe at all. "Deku-kun." Uraraka's voice cut through the chaos, soft and desperate, and carrying 387 days of nightmares in 2 syllables. She moved before thinking, muscle memory from a year of imagining this moment. Crossing the room with arms already opening for the hug, she practiced in her head 1,000 times. Izuku stepped back, reflexive, automatic, divine detachment, training overriding human instinct. The room went silent again. Uraraka's arms hung in empty air. Her face, wide brown eyes going wider, then wet, then breaking in slow motion as understanding crashed through hope. Her fingers touched together. Quirk activation habit. Comfort gesture that used to mean nervousness and now meant her heart was shattering. Izuku's eyes flickered. Purple gold to green for half a second. Human, terrified, hating himself, before snapping back to divine detachment. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean." It's a trained response. "I can't." He stopped. Started again. Proximity to mortals carries risk. Divine energy can. His voice was clinical. Explaining. "Wrong. I'm still learning control. I don't want to hurt anyone." Midoriya. Todoroki's voice, flat and certain. He'd been watching, analyzing, reading the details everyone else had missed while drowning in emotion. "Your eyes." Everyone looked. Purple gold, irises that shifted like liquid metal. Not contacts. Not a quirk trick. Something fundamental. Something that made the hindbrain scream apex predator, even as the conscious mind insisted, "This is Deku. This is our friend. This is..." The class stepped back unconsciously. A half step. Instinct recognizing threat. Izuku saw it. Something in his expression, not quite emotion, not quite emptiness, acknowledged the distance. "I was chosen," he said, and the room went still again. Beerus, God of Destruction, Universe 7. He needed a successor. I was compatible. His head tilted fractionally. I trained for 1 year. Your time. Considerably longer from my perspective. Silence. Then Kaminari, voice strangled, god of destruction. You're working for villains? Jiro, earphone jacks whipping. No. Izuku's voice didn't rise. Didn't defend. Just corrected. Destruction isn't villainy. It's universal maintenance. Entropy management. Gods of destruction remove what must end so creation can continue. He paused, seeming to search for words they'd understand. Gardening. At cosmic scale, the philosophical divide opened like a chasm. They heard destruction and thought Shigaraki. Decay. Villainy. Everything they'd spent a year fighting against while he was gone. He meant something else entirely. Something they didn't have context for. Something that lived in the space between mortal and divine, where saving everyone became preserving everything by knowing what to let go. Awkward murmuring filled the silence. Confused. Scared. The common room door opened. All Might. Skeletal form, hunched and wheezing, blue eyes that had seen Izuku vanish in a purple-gold light 1 year ago, and had spent every day since wondering if it was his fault. Those eyes met Izuku's purple-gold gaze, and shattered. No words. No booming, I am here. No gentle, young Midoriya. Just a man who'd given everything to create a symbol, watching that symbol become something he couldn't comprehend. His hand moved to his chest scar, trembling. His mouth opened, closed. Skeletal fingers clenched. The room held its breath. All Might. Izuku's voice was gentle as detachment training allowed. I'm still your successor. I still carry one for all. I'm just. He hesitated. Not only yours anymore. Tashinori's face crumpled. He didn't cry, didn't speak, just stood there, existing in the space between pride and devastation, watching his student float 2 inches off the ground with eyes that belonged to something older than heroism. Purple gold light materialized beside Izuku. Not solid, not fully present. A projection, holographic shimmer in the shape of a tall, blue-skinned being with white hair and serene purple eyes. Greetings. Whis' voice was polite, clinical, carried the weight of 85 million years compressed into 30 seconds of divine efficiency. I am Whis, angel attendant to Universe 7's god of destruction. The entity known as the Rot has manifested on Earth. It is a universal immune response targeting your planet's anomalous heroic interference with natural entropy. Your military and hero forces are inadequate. Midoriya Izuku is your solution. Cooperation is advised. Good luck. The projection dissipated. Silence. Then everyone started talking at once. Questions, objections, demand for clarification that no one present could provide because the only being who could had just delivered a cosmic voicemail and hung up. Izuku stood at the center of the chaos, floating unconsciously, purple gold energy crackling faintly around him, looking at faces he'd known for 2 years and feeling the distance measured in light years instead of feet. I'll handle the Rot, he said, voice cutting through the noise without rising in volume. Just presence. Divine weight that made mortal voices quiet. That's why I came back. After that, he paused. We'll see. He turned, walked, floated toward the door. Midoriya-kun. Ida, hand raised like he was asking permission in class. You cannot simply leave without proper debriefing. As class representative, I must insist on a comprehensive explanation of your absence, your current status, and the protocols for. Later, Ida. Izuku didn't look back. Right now, I need air. He passed All Might without stopping. Their eyes met for a moment, green flickering in purple gold, old recognition beneath new divinity. And then Izuku was gone. The roof access door clicked shut behind him. UA Academy, rooftop, 3:34 a.m. Izuku stood at the edge, purple gold aura faint around him, looking at Tokyo's skyline. At the buildings he'd once sworn to protect. At a city full of people who'd never know how close they'd come to erasure. At a world that felt simultaneously precious and small. Footsteps behind him. Heavy, aggressive, familiar. You're not getting rid of us. Bakugo stopped beside him, didn't look at Izuku, just stared at the city, explosions crackling quietly in his palms. Not threatening, just present, the way they always were when he was thinking. I'm trying to protect you, Izuku said quietly. From what? Izuku's eyes shifted to full gold. Purple gold energy rippled, the air around them distorted. From what I might have to become. Bakugo was silent for 3 heartbeats. Then he snorted, harsh, bitter, but threaded with something that might have been understanding. Yeah, well, explosions flare brighter. Too damn bad, Deku. You don't get to make that call alone. Not anymore. He turned to leave. Paused. We waited 387 days. Trained until we broke. Became stronger so you couldn't push us away when you came back. His voice dropped. Rough. Honest. You think some god bullshit is going to change that? You're stupider than I thought. Bakugo walked away. Izuku stood alone on the roof, floating 2 inches above concrete. And for the first time since he'd learned to stop crying, felt the absence of tears like a physical wound. Below, Tokyo slept. And somewhere in the distance, reality tore. The route was coming. UA Academy. Strategy Room. 4:47 a.m. The holographic display showed the route's progression through Tokyo. 17 city blocks erased. 4,000 people ceased. Purple-black void expanding at measurable rates, consuming reality like cancer. Izuku stood at the front of the room, purple-gold eyes reflecting the hologram's light, and explained the thing no one wanted to hear. The rot is a universal immune response. Earth has an anomaly, heroic intervention on a scale that defies natural entropy. Every quirk that reverses death, every rescue that statistically shouldn't succeed, every time you save someone who was supposed to die. He paused. It destabilizes reality. The universe is correcting. The room erupted. You're saying saving people is wrong? Kamiya Woods, half out of his seat. Izuku's voice didn't rise, didn't defend, just clarified. I'm saying refusing natural endings has consequences. Entropy is law. When you break it consistently, at scale for decades. He gestured at the hologram. The rod appears. It removes the anomaly, restores balance. That's villain logic. Endeavor's flames flared, turquoise eyes hard. Justifying murder through philosophy. No. Izuku met his gaze without flinching. Villain logic is destroying for personal gain. I destroy to maintain balance. Shigaraki decays because he hates. I would destroy because the alternative is universal collapse. There's a difference. Is there? Endeavor's voice carried the weight of his own past, of using power without compassion. Because from where I'm sitting, balance sounds like an excuse. Izuku's eyes shifted to full gold. Then you're not listening. I'm not excusing destruction. I'm explaining necessity. The rot will erase Earth unless you become what we fight against. All Might's voice, quiet, shaking, skeletal form hunched in the corner where he'd been silent until now. His hand clutched his handkerchief, blood-spotted, trembling, blue eyes wet. Young Midoriya, he couldn't finish. Start again. You sound like you're justifying murder. The room went still. Izuku turned to face his mentor, his first hero, the man who'd given him everything. I sound like someone who understands that saving everyone is a child's fantasy. His voice was gentle, devastating, and I was a child when you taught me that. All Might's face crumpled. His hero form flickered, tried to manifest, failed, left him skeletal and broken. He opened his mouth, closed it. Blood trickled from the corner, and he didn't wipe it away. Silence stretched like a wound. There has to be another way. Uraraka's voice cut through, desperate and fierce. There's always another way. You taught us that. There was. Izuku's eyes found hers, purple gold meeting brown. I spent months looking, ran simulations with Whis, consulted universal databases, searched for the solution where everyone lives and reality stays stable. He paused. This is the least destructive option. Least destructive? Kirishima's fist slammed the table. You're talking about killing that thing by what? Erasing it? How is that different from what it's doing? Because I'm choosing what dies instead of letting it choose who dies. Izuku's voice remained level. The rot will erase randomly. Humans, animals, buildings, concepts. I can target precisely. End the threat. Minimize casualties. Bakugo's palms crackled. Explosions popped and fizzled. His jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. I hate this, he growled. I hate every word coming out of your mouth. Izuku nodded. I know, but the math. Bakugo's fist hit the table. Not slamming, just resting. Hard. The math makes sense. One precise kill versus random mass erasure. I hate that you're right. Kakin. Izuku's voice almost broke. Almost slipped into old patterns, old speech, old Deku who apologized for existing. Almost. Don't. Bakugo's voice was sharp. Don't do that. Don't pretend this is easy for you. You chose this. Own it. Todoroki's voice, quiet and cutting. Can you still save people? Or only kill threats? The question hit like a knife between ribs. Izuku paused. First moment of uncertainty since entering the room. His eyes flickered. Purple gold to green to purple gold. Rapid oscillation. His hand moved toward his chin. Old thinking gesture. Stopped halfway. The word came out rough. I don't know anymore. The admission hung in the air. When I see someone in danger, my first thought used to be save them. His eyes stayed purple gold, but his voice carried something raw. Now it's calculate acceptable losses. When I trained to be a hero, I learned to move without thinking. Pure instinct to protect. Now I think before I move. Analyze. Prioritize. He looked at his hands. Ultra instinct is supposed to be the body moving before the mind. But my mind keeps asking, should I save this person, or is their death necessary for larger stability? That's not heroism, All Might whispered. He couldn't finish. Didn't need to. Everyone heard it. That's what I fought against my entire career. What happened to the Deku who never gave up on anyone? Uraraka's voice cracked. Who broke every bone in his body before abandoning someone. Who smiled while saving people even when it was impossible. Izuku's eyes met hers. And for just a moment, one devastating, honest moment, his voice was soft. He learned that giving up on one means saving 1,000. Uraraka's fingers touched together. Tears fell. Aizawa stood, bloodshot eyes scanning the room. Philosophical crisis later. Strategy now. His voice cut through emotion like a blade. Midoriya, can you stop the rot? Izuku's eyes returned to full gold. Professional. Detached. Yes. Casualties. 0. If I do it right. And if you do it wrong. Izuku's aura flickered. Best case, Tokyo. Worst case, the planet. Someone gasped. Aizawa didn't react. Method. Hakai. Controlled demolition variant. I'll erase the rot at the conceptual level. Remove it from the timeline without triggering a cascade failure. Izuku's tone was clinical. The risk is precision. Too much energy, and I destroy what I'm trying to protect. Too little, and the rot reconstitutes. You've done this before? Endeavor. Flames still flickering. In simulations. Never on Earth. Never with this much at stake. Reassuring. Aizawa muttered. Then louder, do it. Everyone else, evacuation protocols. Midoriya destroys the rot. We save civilians. Clear. Clear. Izuku said. All Might stood. Skeletal form swaying. He looked at Izuku. Really looked like he was searching for something in those purple gold eyes. Some trace of the boy who'd cried at hero videos. Who'd saved Katsuki with no power. Who'd smiled through broken bones because heroes save people. He didn't find it. I can't watch this, All Might whispered. I can't watch you become. He stopped. Turned. Walked to the door. Paused. When you were quirkless, you had the greatest power of all. His voice was barely audible. You had a heart that couldn't accept a world where people weren't saved. That heart made you worthy of one for all. He touched the doorframe. I don't know what you have now, but it's not that. He left without looking back. The door clicked shut. Izuku stood in the silence. Purple gold aura crackling faintly, and felt the absence of tears like a familiar wound. Let's go, he said. The rot won't wait for us to feel better about this. And despite everything, the philosophy, the pain, the devastation, everyone moved. Because he was right. And that was the worst part. Reality died in silence. No explosion. No warning. One moment, the eastern wing of Kyoto's Grand Hotel existed. Glass and steel, and 300 years of architectural history. The next moment, it had never existed. The lot stood empty, grass growing through cracks in pavement that had been poured decades ago over foundations that were now undisturbed earth. The people inside didn't scream. They simply weren't. Endeavor's flames hit the void humanoid figure shambling through Kyoto's streets and vanished. Not extinguished, erased. The fires ceased mid-arc, reality glitching like corrupted footage, and Endeavor staggered back with the existential vertigo of an attack that had never happened. Fall back. Eraserhead's quirk flared, red eyes locking onto the thing. Nothing. His cancellation washed over it like water over stone. It's not quirk-based. The rot turned what might have been a head toward him. Space Tour. Aizawa's capture weapon unraveled into component threads, then cotton, then concept, then nothing. He barely rolled aside as the effect spread, concrete dissolving into the ghost of sediment that had never compressed into stone. Buildings weren't destroyed. They ceased to have ever existed. Cherry trees that had stood for centuries flickered. Young, sapling, seed, bare earth. Photographs in shop windows faded. Faces vanishing from family portraits as the people in them were removed from causality itself. Get civilians clear. All Might's voice cracked across the calm. He was 3 blocks away, evacuating, powerless to fight. Endeavor. Maintain perimeter. Don't engage directly. But the number 1 hero was already retreating, dragging injured sidekicks whose names he'd forgotten the moment the rot's influence touched them. Class 2A hit the ground running. Uravity, get people to the shelters. Ida's engine screamed as he evacuated a family from a collapsing, no, unexisting apartment complex. Shoto, create ice barriers to slow its advance. Todoroki's ice wall erupted, then flickered. The frozen water remembered it had never condensed. Steam that had never been ice drifted away. It's erasing the past of what it touches, Yozu breathed, analyzing frantically. Not destroying, removing from history. The rot shambled forward. Reality glitched around it like static, space folding incorrectly, colors inverted. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere and nowhere. Should not exist. What shouldn't? Bakugo snarled, palms crackling. Speak up, you void-faced. The whisper layered over itself, reversed echoed. Heroism. Defies. Entropy. Your world refuses death. Uraraka launched rubble at it, zero-gravity projectiles. They touched the rot's influence and stopped being rubble. Stopped being matter. Stopped being. And then the rot's eyeless gaze fixed on her. She gasped, stumbled. Her costume flickered, new, worn, threadbare gone. Pink pads on her cheeks faded. Brown hair lightened. She reached toward Bakugo, confusion breaking across her face. I can't. Her voice thinned. What's my name? Uraraka. Bakugo lunged. Kirishima caught him, yanking him back from the spreading erasure field. Don't touch it. You'll. Ochako's eyes glazed. She looked at her own hands like they belonged to a stranger. I don't know. Purple gold light exploded across Kyoto. The erasure stopped, snapped backward like elastic released. Buildings flickered, existed, didn't exist, existed, and stabilized. Uraraka collapsed, gasping, memories flooding back in nauseating vertigo. Izuku Midoriya stood at the epicenter, 40 feet above the street, floating without effort. His aura radiated outward in concentric waves, reality solidifying wherever it touched. The effects spread like ripples in reverse, chaos compressing into order. He didn't descend. He didn't announce himself. He simply was. The rot turned. Space bent around both of them, 2 opposing forces warping causality. Paradox, it whispered. You destroy to preserve. Should not exist. Izuku's expression didn't change. His voice carried none of the warmth his classmates remembered, just cold analysis. then we're both anomalies. His eyes flickered pure gold. Difference is, I'm functional. He moved. Not fast. Not slow. He simply was in front of the rod, hand extended. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then reality screamed. A sphere of controlled collapse erupted around the rod. Not destruction, not erasure, but recursion. Space folded into itself. Matter breaking down to energy, energy to probability, probability to nothing, and then regrowing from that nothing in stable form. Like Whis had taught, remove the slice of cake, let the structure collapse inward, support the regrowth. The rot recoiled, form destabilizing. Tried to erase the attack, couldn't. Destruction and erasure weren't opposites. They were perpendicular forces. Target composition, non-matter. Izuku murmured clinical. Internal narration bleeding into speech. Conceptual entity. Standard physics irrelevant. Strategy. Counter erasure with controlled destruction to force causal regrowth. Deku. Bakugo's shout barely registered. What the hell are you? Let US help. Izuku raised one hand without looking. A barrier of golden energy snapped into place between Class 2A and the fight. Not aggressive. Just absolute. You'll be erased. His tone held no emotion. Stay back. Bakugo slammed against the barrier. Explosions useless. Don't you dare. We're your team. But Izuku wasn't listening. He was already calculating the next move. Fingers weaving patterns in the air. Destruction seeds blooming around the rot like dark flowers. Each one a controlled singularity, forcing reality to choose. Collapse or regrow. The rot couldn't adapt fast enough. Its form fractured, glitching between states of existence. And then it changed tactics. The attack wasn't physical. The rot reached into Izuku's history and began erasing. Flash. All Might's smile faded from his memory, replaced by empty static. His mother's face blurred. Who was she? Had he ever had a mother? Bakugo's name dissolved. Who was the angry blonde boy? Why did forgetting him hurt? Panic cracked through Izuku's composure like ice splitting. His aura flickered. No, I can't lose. Yue's gates. What was Yue? Had he ever wanted to be, what was the word? His hands trembled. The barrier around Class 2A wavered. He was forgetting why he was fighting. Deku. Uraraka's voice cut through the erasure like a lifeline. Desperate. Raw. Anchoring. He gasped and remembered. All Might's laugh. Inko's worried face. Katsuki's grudging respect. Ochako calling his name like it meant everything. The golden aura blazed. You try to erase what makes me human. His voice dropped to something cold and final. That was your mistake. He raised both hands. Purple gold energy condensed between his palms. Not wild, not explosive, just dense. Compressed destruction folded into a single point. Hakai. The rot screamed. A sound like reality tearing. You've become what you feared. No. Izuku's eyes burned gold. I became what was necessary. The technique released. It wasn't an explosion. It was cessation. The rot's form dissolved into stardust. Not erased, not destroyed, but unmade. Returned to component energy. Gentle, efficient, painless. The entity's final whisper echoed. Functional, anomaly, accepted, and then silence. Kyoto stood intact. Building solid. People remembering their names. The glitching reality stabilized. Residual purple-gold energy, fading like morning mist. Izuku floated alone in the crater where the rot had stood, arms at his sides, head bowed. His aura guttered out. For a moment, he looked exactly like what he was. A 17-year-old boy who'd just erased a concept from existence. Then he lowered to the ground, legs unsteady. The barrier around Class 2A dissolved. They rushed forward, stopped 5 feet away, uncertain. He looked so distant, untouchable. Uraraka stepped forward first. Always first. Deku. His shoulders shook. Just once. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. I'm sorry. She blinked. For what? For erasing it. He didn't look up. The rot was just performing its function, correcting an anomaly. It didn't deserve to stop existing. But I had to. His hands trembled. Ochako reached out slowly, half expecting him to pull away like always. But this time, when her fingers touched his arm, he didn't move. Didn't retreat into divine detachment. He was shaking. "You're still you," she whispered. "You still feel it. That's what makes you different from a god." Izuku's laugh was broken. "Uraraka, I just erased a fundamental force because it threatened people I care about. That's exactly what a god of destruction does." "No." Bakugo's voice cut through, harsh but certain. He stood at the crater's edge, fists clenched. "A god wouldn't apologize to the thing it killed. You're still a damn bleeding heart hero, Deku. Just cosmically annoying about it now." Todoroki nodded slowly. "You protected us, then mourned what you had to destroy. That's not godhood. That's still heroism, just on a different scale." Izuku finally looked up. His eyes had faded back to green. No purple, no gold. Just tired. Human. "I almost forgot you," he admitted quietly. "All of you. It was erasing my memories, and I couldn't remember why I was fighting. But you did remember." Uraraka squeezed his arm gently. "Because we're here. We'll always be here to remind you." Ida stepped forward, hand chopping with mechanical precision despite the emotion in his voice. "As your friend and class representative, I must insist. No, I demand that you never face such threats alone again. We may not operate on your level, but we can anchor you. That is what teams do." Izuku stared at them, his classmates, his friends, standing in the wreckage of a conceptual battle they couldn't truly fight. Still here, still reaching for him. Something in his chest, something that had frozen during training with Beerus, cracked slightly. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." Uraraka smiled. "Good. Now come on. You're explaining what the hell just happened over ramen. And you're paying. Gods probably have cosmic expense accounts, right?" Despite everything, Izuku almost smiled. Almost. But it was closer than he'd gotten in a year. News broadcast. Hero News Network. 1800 hours Japan, Standard Time. Unprecedented use of what experts are calling existence erasure by UA student Izuku Midoriya. The technique, visually similar to abilities employed by the villain All for One, has raised serious questions about. Social media feed scrolling. At Hero Watch, he saved Kyoto. Who cares how? Hashtag thank you Deku. At concerned citizen _47. Existence erasure? That's villain shit. Arrest him. Hashtag not my hero. At Quark _analyst. The entity was erasing reality itself. Standard quirks were useless. He did what was necessary. At all _forever. All Might would never use that kind of power. This isn't heroism. At cosmic _stan. Literally a god walked among us, and y'all are complaining? Folded hands sparkles hashtag praise destroyer Deku. Hero Public Safety Commission. Emergency session. The president's knuckles were white against the conference table. Holographic footage played on loop. Purple gold energy, the rot dissolving, Kyoto stabilizing instead of collapsing. "He used erasure," she said quietly. "Cold. That's all for one level threat classification." Endeavor's flames flickered. "He used controlled destruction. There's a difference." "Is there?" Her eyes cut to him. "To the public? To our regulations?" He removed something from existence, Todoroki. Without oversight. Without authorization. He's 17 years old with the power to unmake reality. He saved 3 million people. This time, the president leaned forward. What about next time? What if he decides a person is a threat? A government? Us. Silence. We need him registered. Monitored. If he refuses. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Endeavor stood, flames roaring to life. "You want to try detaining a god? Be my guest. I'll attend your funeral." He left before she could respond. UA High School, rooftop, 2134. The city sprawled below, lights flickering like earthbound stars. Izuku stood at the edge, purple gold aura completely dormant. He looked small, 17, tired. The rooftop door creaked. Young Midoriya, All Might's voice, his real voice, thin and raspy, cut through the wind. He approached slowly, skeletal frame hunched, each step labored. We stopped beside Izuku. He didn't look at him, just at the city. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then All Might coughed, wet, painful. Blood dotted his handkerchief. When I gave you one for all. His voice cracked. I thought I was giving you hope. A symbol. A way to save people with a smile. Izuku's jaw tightened. You did. Did I? All Might finally looked at him. His eyes were red, not from power, but from tears he was trying not to shed. Because when I watch you fight now, I see efficiency, strategy, power beyond measure. But I don't. I don't see joy, my boy. I don't see the smile. The smile doesn't destroy cosmic threats. Power without a smile isn't heroism. All Might's voice rose, then broke into coughing. He steadied himself against the railing. When he spoke again, it was barely a whisper. It's just violence with good intentions. Izuku turned to face him fully. His expression was carefully neutral, but something flickered in his eyes, green, for just a moment. Human. A smile without results isn't heroism either, All Might. His voice was soft, gentle, devastating. It's just marketing. All Might staggered like he'd been struck. You taught me to save everyone, Izuku continued. But you never taught me what to do when everyone includes a universe. When saving Earth means erasing a fundamental force. When the choice is smile and fail, or succeed and mourn. I didn't know. I know. Izuku's voice gentled further. You gave me the foundation, the heart, the why. I just built something different on top. Because the threats are different now. All Might's hand trembled on the railing. When he spoke, his voice was broken. I failed you. No. Izuku shook his head. You gave me everything I needed to become a hero. You just couldn't prepare me to become a god. How could you? You were teaching me to be you. And you can't be me. No. Izuku whispered. I can't. I'm sorry. All Might closed his eyes. Tears tracked down his gaunt cheeks. He looked suddenly, impossibly older, a man watching his legacy evolve into something unrecognizable, something he couldn't follow. I'm so proud of you, he whispered, and so terrified for you, and so sorry I wasn't enough. He turned and walked away. Each step was agony, not physical, but existential. The sound of his shoes on concrete faded. Izuku stood alone. For a long time, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he looked down at his hands. The purple-gold aura flickered, weak like a dying flame, and faded completely. His eyes shifted. Purple bled away. Gold dimmed. Just green. Bright human green. I'm sorry, All Might, he whispered to the empty rooftop, voice cracking for the first time since returning. I can't be you anymore. I can't. I can't smile like nothing's wrong when I know what I've seen. What I've done. His hands clenched into fists. But I'll carry what you gave me. The heart. The reason. I'll just carry it differently. Endeavor. Street level, 3 blocks away. Enji Todoroki stood in an alley, flames dimmed to embers. He'd followed All Might from the commission meeting, watched him ascend to the roof. Watched him descend 20 minutes later, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. He knew that walk. The posture of a mentor realizing their teachings were incomplete, that their successor had to break their philosophy to survive. He'd felt it when Shoto finally used his fire, not because Enji wanted him to, but because Shoto chose to. The moment they surpass you, Enji muttered to himself, is the moment you realize you were teaching them to fight yesterday's war. He looked up at the rooftop where Izuku stood, too far to see, but Endeavor could feel the God energy signature flickering, destabilizing, human enough to grieve, God enough to act anyway. Flame ignited around his head. That's a worse burden than either alone, kid. He turned and walked into the night, leaving the God and his mentor to their separate solitudes. News broadcast, late night editorial, 23:47. The anchor shuffled papers, exhaustion clear in her eyes. Behind her, split-screen footage, Izuku's purple-gold aura versus All for One's black-red energy. Visually similar, functionally unknown. Tonight's question, she began slowly, isn't whether Izuku Midoriya saved Kyoto. He did. The question is, at what cost? And I don't mean casualties. There were none, miraculously. She looked directly at the camera. I mean philosophical cost. Heroism has always meant saving people. But if saving requires erasing, removing something from existence itself, is that still heroism? Or is it just? She paused, chose words carefully. A different kind of war. She gestured to the split screen. Is this the evolution of heroism, or its end? The broadcast cut to commercial. The question hung in the air, unanswered. UA dorms, Class 2, a common room, 2358. The TV played the broadcast on mute. Nobody was really watching. Uraraka sat on the couch, knees pulled to chest, staring at her phone. The group chat was exploding. Mina, guys, is he okay? Should we check on him? Kaminari, man, he's been on the roof for like 3 hours. Kirishima, that's not manly. We should go up there. Jiro, and say what? Hey God, bro, want to talk about feelings? Bakugo, leave him alone. He'll come down when he's ready. Sue ribbit, or he won't. And that's worse. Ochako typed, deleted, typed again. Uraraka, I'm going up. Bakugo, course you are. She stood, and the rooftop door opened. Izuku stepped through, eyes red-rimmed, human crying, not power, shoulders hunched. He looked so young. Hey, Ochako said softly. He looked up, tried to smile. Failed. Hey. Todoroki rose from his seat, walked over, didn't say anything, just stood beside Izuku, present. Then Ida, then Sue, then Bakugo, grumbling, but there. One by one, Class 2A surrounded him. Not touching, not speaking, just there. Izuku's breath hitched. His hand shook. I think. His voice broke. I think All Might doesn't recognize me anymore. Uraraka stepped closer. We do. Do you? He looked at her, green eyes swimming with tears he'd been trained not to shed. Because I don't think I recognize me anymore. Then we'll remind you, Todoroki said simply. Until you remember. Izuku's composure cracked. He didn't cry, couldn't still, but he shook. Uraraka grabbed his hand, squeezed, and slowly, surrounded by people who knew him before godhood and refused to forget, Izuku's shoulders unbent slightly. Not fixed, not healed, but less alone. Outside, the city debated whether he was hero or monster. Inside, his friends decided he was just Izuku, and that was enough. 3:47 a.m. UA Training Ground Beta. The night, air held its breath. Izuku floated 3 feet above the scorched earth, cross-legged, eyes closed. Purple gold energy rippled around him in waves. Not aggressive, just present, distorting the stars behind him, warping the space between atoms. He didn't breathe, didn't move, just existed, somewhere between mortal meditation and divine detachment. Ochako stood at the training ground entrance, hands clenched. She'd checked his dorm room, empty. The common room, empty. The rooftop, empty. She'd known, somehow, that he'd come here, where they'd first trained together, where he'd broken his fingers learning to control one for all, where he'd still been human. She stepped forward. Gravel crunched under her boots. No reaction. Deku-kun. The energy flickered. Nothing else. She picked up a rock, softball-sized, weighed it in her palm, then threw it at his head. His hand snapped up, caught it without opening his eyes. The movement was fluid, mechanical. Ultra-instinct reflex. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly. His voice sounded distant, like speaking through water. Neither should you. She crossed her arms. It's almost 4 in the morning. Gods don't sleep much. You're not a god. Her voice sharpened. You're Deku. He flinched. Actually flinched. His eyes opened, purple gold, glowing faintly. And the name hit him like a physical blow. Because she was right. That name belonged to someone who cried over injured classmates. Someone who muttered hero analysis under his breath. Someone who felt things. Uraraka. He lowered to the ground, feet touching earth. The aura dimmed. What are you doing here? Same thing you are. Thinking. She walked closer, boots crunching on the training ground's shattered concrete. Except I actually sleep first. You know, like a person. I'm not. Don't. Her tone wasn't angry. Just firm. Don't finish that sentence. You're about to say you're not a person anymore, and we both know that's garbage. Silence. She stopped 5 feet away, close enough to see the exhaustion in his 2 bright eyes. The way his shoulders carried tension even gods shouldn't feel. "Show me," she said. He blinked. "What?" "Your power. Demonstrate it. I want to see what everyone's so afraid of." "Uraraka, it's dangerous." "I'm not asking. Show me." He stared at her, searching for what? Fear? She met his gaze evenly. Warm brown eyes against purple gold. Finally, he sighed, turned toward the row of training boulders. Massive concrete blocks reinforced to withstand all might-level impacts. He raised one hand. No dramatic wind-up. No battle cry. Just a quiet Hakai. The boulders ceased to exist. Not exploded. Not shattered. Just gone. The space it occupied filled with fine dust that scattered on the breeze, glittering like stardust under the moonlight. Ochako walked forward, stepped into the dust cloud, let the particles settle on her skin, her costume, her hair. She touched them, felt the grit between her fingers. "This is still here," she said softly. "Erasure would leave nothing. You told me the rot's touch made things stop existing. But this..." She opened her palm, showed him the glittering residue. "This is still matter. Still energy. You didn't erase the boulder. You ended its structure, returned it to components." Izuku's hands trembled. "What's the difference?" "It's still gone. The difference is intent." She walked back to him, stood close. "You're not erasing people, Izuku. You're ending threats. And when the threat is gone, you mourn. I've seen it. After the rot, you apologized. To something that tried to unmake reality. That doesn't make it okay." "I'm not saying it's okay." Her voice cracked, emotion breaking through. "I'm saying it's necessary. And you hate that it's necessary. Which means you're still you." He looked away, jaw clenched. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. "I destroyed a star." Ochako went still. 3 months ago, he continued, staring at the dust on the ground. Whis detected a stellar collapse that would have triggered a chain reaction. Gamma ray burst. Would have sterilized 12 solar systems. He swallowed. "I used controlled demolition. Triggered the collapse early, directed the energy safely. 7 billion people lived because of it." He finally looked at her. His eyes were green now, fully human, swimming with something between grief and numbness. "No one knows. No one thanked me. And I can't tell if that bothers me or not. I can't tell if I felt anything saving 7 billion lives, or if I just calculated it was the correct move." His voice broke. "What if I'm losing the ability to care? What if Beerus trained the humanity out of me, and I didn't notice until it was gone?" Ochako's chest tightened. She reached out slowly, gave him time to pull away, and took his hand. His skin was warm. Normal. Not divine fire or cosmic void. Just, "Izuku, that's how you know you're still good," she whispered. "You're worried about not feeling enough. Villains don't worry about that. They don't care if they stop caring." "But what if..." "Deku-kun." She squeezed his hand. Her Kansai dialect softened, not bubbly, but gentle. The voice she used for real conversations, not performance. "Can you still smile?" He blinked. "What? Smile? Right now? Can you?" He tried. It was small, broken at the edges. Barely there, but genuine. Ochako's own smile was sad. "Good. Don't lose that. Gods who forget how to smile become monsters. You taught me that, back at the sports festival, when you told me to do my best with a stupid grin on your face while your bones were shattered." Izuku's breath hitched. "I can't save everyone anymore," he whispered. The confession of a boy who'd built his entire identity on an impossible standard. No one ever could. Ochako's voice was firm. "Kind. True. All Might couldn't either. He just made it look easy. And then he passed that weight to you without explaining it was a lie." The purple gold aura around Izuku guttered like a dying flame. His knees buckled, not from weakness but from relief. Permission to be imperfect, from someone who'd watched him save the world and still saw the boy underneath. He didn't cry. Couldn't. But he shook. Ochako didn't try to fix him. Didn't offer platitudes. She just sat down on the cracked concrete, pulling him down beside her. They sat in silence, the god and his anchor, while the stars turned overhead and the dust of an annihilated boulder settled around them like snow. Minutes passed. Finally, Ochako spoke. "We're not afraid of your power, you know. We're afraid you'll forget you're still one of us." Izuku looked at her, really looked, at the girl who'd called him Deku and made it sound like a promise instead of an insult, who'd studied divine philosophy just to understand his burden, who threw rocks at gods when they needed grounding. "How do I stop forgetting?" he asked quietly. She stood, brushed dust from her costume, and offered him a hand. "You let us remind you. Every day, until you remember on your own." He stared at her hand. Small, calloused from zero-gravity training. Human. Then he took it. She pulled him to his feet and kept pulling until his boots touched the ground fully. Not hovering, not floating unconsciously. Grounded. Literally. Metaphorically. "There," she said, satisfied. "Feet on the earth. That's where heroes stand." Izuku looked down. His red boots, the last piece of his old costume he'd kept, pressed against the training ground. Solid. Connected. "Uraraka," he started. "Ochako," she corrected gently. "You're allowed to use my first name, Deku. We're way past formalities." He blinked. Then, miracle of miracles, that broken smile grew slightly less broken. "Ochako," he tried. The name felt strange on his tongue. Intimate. Human. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." She grinned. Her real grin, not the bubbly mask. "You're coming to breakfast tomorrow, and you're sitting with us, and you're laughing at Kaminari's terrible jokes, and you're going to practice being a person again. I don't know if I remember how. Then we'll teach you." She started walking toward the dorms, glanced back. "Coming? Or should I leave you to your brooding god routine?" Izuku looked at the boulder dust glittering on his hands. The remnants of his demonstration. Matter and energy, not void. Still present. Still real. Like him, he followed her. Behind them, the purple-gold aura faded completely. The stars shone clear and undistorted. And for the first time in months, Izuku Midoriya walked back to the dorms without floating. Human. Imperfect. Still trying. Still Deku. The strategy meeting had been going for 20 minutes. Class 2A crowded around the common room table, holographic displays showing city patrol routes, quirk efficiency charts, rescue protocol updates. Ida was mid-hand chop when Izuku's eyes flared. Purple-gold light erupted from his irises, so bright that Yeroza flinched, Kaminari yelped, and the holographic displays flickered out. Izuku's head snapped up, posture going rigid. His pupils dilated, unfocused, seeing something beyond the room. "Deku." Uraraka's voice was small. "What?" Whis' voice cut through Izuku's mind like a blade of ice. Telepathic. Urgent. The angel never sounded urgent. "Izuku, Beerus' planet is under siege. All for One has breached dimensional barriers using stolen spatial quirks. He is attempting to absorb Lord Beerus' divine essence. If he succeeds, the imbalance will trigger universal collapse. All 12 universes will destabilize." Izuku's breath caught. "You must come. Now." And then, worse, his divine senses flared. 12 signatures. Familiar void energy, reality glitching wrongness, spreading across Earth like infection points. The rot. Manifesting simultaneously in Tokyo, New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Cairo, Sydney, Mexico City, Johannesburg, Paris. Calculated. Coordinated. Trap. "No." Izuku whispered. Bakugo was on his feet instantly. "The hell's wrong?" Izuku's hands clenched. His aura flickered, purple-gold energy distorting the air, making the lights overhead buzz and dim. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. "Beerus' planet is under attack. All for One. He's trying to steal God of destruction powers." He looked up, green breaking through the purple gold in his eyes. "Lost." And the rot just appeared in 12 cities. Simultaneously, the room went silent. Todoroki stood slowly, ice crackling unconsciously on his right side. He planned this. Force you to choose. Momo breathe, horror dawning. Save Earth or save universal balance. Izuku's aura guttered. His shoulders hunched. 17 again, not 18, not God-trained. Just a boy with an impossible choice. If I leave Earth, the rot will erase entire cities before you can. His voice cracked. But if I stay, AFO steals divine power, and everything collapses. All universes. Not just Earth. Everything. Bakugo's palms crackled. He walked around the table, grabbed Izuku's shoulder, gripped tight enough to ground him. You have to go to the God planet. Not question. Fact. Bakugo, I can't just abandon. We'll handle Earth. Todoroki's voice cut through, formal and absolute. You taught us to be heroes. This is what heroes do. Todoroki, the rot erases existence. Your quirk won't. Then we'll figure it out. Uraraka stepped forward, fingertips pressed together anxiously, but voice firm. Deku, you're the only one who can stop AFO. We're the only ones here for the rot. It's not abandonment. It's division of labor. Ida adjusted his glasses, hand-chopping with mechanical precision despite the tremor in his fingers. Midoriya, as your friend and class representative, I must insist, no, I demand, that you fulfill your cosmic duty. We will protect Earth. That is our duty. Do not insult us by assuming we cannot. Izuku stared at them. His classmates. His friends. The people he'd saved 47 times. The people who'd save him 12. You could die, he whispered. Bakugo grinned. All teeth, no humor. Fear hidden behind bravado like always. Right back at you, Deku. Kakin. Listen up. Bakugo released his shoulder, slammed a fist on the table. The strategic leader he'd become in Izuku's absence emerged. Here's how this goes. Half and half. You're on zone control. Ice walls to contain rot spread. Fire to evacuate civilians from frozen areas. Round face, you're managing aerial evacuation. Get people up and out of erasure range. Glasses, you coordinate ground teams. Four eyes, you're building whatever the hell might slow that thing down. Nets, barriers, I don't care. Sparky, raccoon eyes, bird brain, frog girl, tape arms, you're on civilian rescue. I'm taking point. He looked at Izuku. Crimson eyes meeting purple gold. We've got this. Now, get the hell out of here before the universe ends. Izuku's throat tightened. He wanted to argue. Wanted to split himself in 12, be everywhere at once, save everyone. But he couldn't. Not anymore. This was the cost of godhood. Cosmic duty over personal attachment. Don't die, he said quietly. Uraraka smiled, sad, brave, his anchor. Don't you either. Izuku closed his eyes. Purple gold aura exploded outward, and he vanished. Beerus planet, Universe 7. Izuku materialized in a crater. The planet's surface, normally pristine crystalline rock, was cracked. Reality warped in visible spirals. Dimensional tears bleeding black-red energy into space. The sky flickered between colors that shouldn't exist. At the center of the devastation stood All for One. No, not stood. Existed. His form was an amalgamation of bodies stitched together with stolen quirks. Humanoid shape constantly shifting. Arms became tentacles, became wings, became claws. Hundreds of eyes opened and closed across his mass. Mouth screaming silently within the flesh. Faces Izuku recognized from hero archives, victims, villains, people from other dimensions, all trapped in AFO's stolen body. Reality warped around him. Space folded incorrectly. Gravity reversed in patches. Time stuttered. He'd absorbed divine-level quirks. Dimensional manipulation. Conceptual theft. Power on a scale that made pre-god Izuku look like an insect. But no control. No understanding. Just raw, thrashing omnipotence wielded by a megalomaniac who thought power meant godhood. 20 feet away, Beerus lay crumpled against a shattered pillar. His fur was scorched, ears flat against his skull. Barely conscious, Whis stood over him, staff raised defensively, but not attacking. Angel laws, he could not take sides. AFO's 1,000 eyes fixed on Izuku. Awe. His voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere, layered with stolen vocal cords. The boy who became a god. How appetizing. Izuku's aura flared. He dropped into ready stance, feet grounded, Hands loose, eyes cold purple gold. All for one, in the flesh. AFO's form rippled. Well, in many fleshes, I've been busy, young Midoriya, stealing quirks across 12 universes. Dimensional travel is quite liberating once you know the right throats to cut for it. The faces in his mask screamed louder. I've stolen the powers of heroes, villains, gods, devils, and things that don't have names in your limited language. AFO spread arms that split into 6, then 12, then collapsed back to 2. And now one final theft. Your destruction energy. Once I consume that, I'll rewrite the fundamental laws of existence itself. A cosmos where I am eternal. Izuku's expression didn't change. You don't understand godhood at all. AFO laughed. Thousands of voices in broken harmony. Enlighten me, boy. It's not about power. Izuku's hands began to glow. Purple gold energy condensed around his fingers, controlled, surgical. It's about duty. How disgustingly noble. AFO's form swelled. Let me show you what power without duty looks like. The battle. AFO struck first. Reality shattered. Space folded in on itself. Pocket dimensions opening like mouths, trying to swallow Izuku whole. Gravity inverted. Time looped backward for 3 seconds in a localized bubble. Izuku moved, not dodging, destroying. His hand sliced through the dimensional rift. Entropy touch, and the pocket dimension aged to dust, collapsing harmlessly. He stepped through the gravity inversion. Purple gold aura stabilizing reality around him. When time looped, his body reacted on instinct, ultra instinct, moving backward through the loop to emerge unaffected. 30% mastery. Enough. AFO snarled. Launched a barrage, stolen quirks firing in chaotic sequence. Plasma blasts, molecular deconstruction waves, conceptual erasure attempts, reality anchors trying to pin Izuku in place. Izuku's response was precise. Controlled demolition. Each attack met with surgical destruction. He didn't erase the space, just the attack. Removed the threat, left reality intact. Like cutting tumors without damaging organs. Impossible. AFO's mass writhed. I have the powers of gods. Stolen powers. Izuku's voice was clinical. Analytical. He was studying AFO mid-fight. Green eyes flickering beneath purple gold. You don't understand them. You just collected them like trophies. AFO's form lunged. Massive, grotesque, reality warping. And tried to absorb Izuku. Black-red energy wrapped around him, trying to pull his divine essence out. Izuku's training activated. The energy bounced. You can't steal what's earned, Izuku said quietly. Only what's granted. Beerus chose me. Whis trained me. Divine power isn't a quirk, all for one. It's a responsibility you'd never accept. AFO screamed, and Izuku saw it. The seams. Every stolen quirk was stitched into AFO's consciousness like patchwork. Dimensional travel quirk from Universe 4, connected via neural thread. Conceptual manipulation from Universe 9, fused to his core. Reality anchor from Universe 3, barely integrated. Each power retained its original user's limitations. AFO had stolen what they could do, but not how to do it properly. Weak points. Everywhere. Izuku moved like water. Existence severance. His hand phased through AFO's mass, cutting the thread connecting dimensional travel quirk. It dissolved. AFO stumbled, losing ability to shift between realities. Another strike. Severed the conceptual manipulation quirk. AFO's reality warping flickered, destabilized. No! AFO thrashed, desperate. Why won't you just kill me? Izuku dodged a wild gravity spike, countered with entropy touch. Aged AFO's left arm construct to dust. Because gods don't kill in anger. They prune with purpose. Then I'll take everything with me. AFO's mass pulsed. Every stolen quirk activated simultaneously. A detonation cascade. His entire dimensional network rigged to explode. Vera's planet would vaporize. The dimensional tears would spread. Chain reaction across all 12 universes. Mutually assured destruction. Izuku froze. He could stop it. Hakai, complete existence erasure. Erase AFO so thoroughly that even his detonation trigger would cease to exist. But that was murder, wasn't it? Not execution, not pruning, just killing someone because they were a threat. His hands trembled. What are you waiting for, boy? Beerus' voice, weak, rasping, but sharp as ever. The god of destruction pushed himself up on one elbow, golden eyes burning despite exhaustion. Izuku looked at him. Permission. You're a god now. Beerus coughed, blood on his fangs. You don't need permission. You need conviction. Izuku stared at AFO, at the hundreds of faces screaming within his mass, at the dimensional network preparing to detonate, at the choice, mercy and universal death, or duty and one death. He closed his eyes, opened them purple gold, universe severance, the resolution. Izuku's hand moved, not destruction, but surgery. His destruction energy folded into something new. Not Hakai, not entropy touch. Something Whis had hinted at but never taught directly. Conceptual severance. Purple gold threads erupted from Izuku's fingers, wrapping around AFO's mass like sutures, and then pulling. Each thread found a stolen quirk, a dimensional connection, a parasitic power AFO had grafted onto himself, and severed them. AFO screamed. 200 years of theft ripped away in seconds. Quirks tore free, dissolving into component energy. Dimensional anchors snapped. The stolen divine powers unraveled, returning to their sources across 12 universes. AFO's mass collapsed. The grotesque amalgamation of bodies withered, flesh aging rapidly, extra limbs dissolving, eyes closing permanently. The detonation cascade fizzled. No power left to fuel it. What remained was a man. Old, frail, quirkless. All for one lay in the crater, skeletal hands clawing uselessly at crystal rock. His face, his actual face, not stolen, was ancient. Sunken eyes, skin like parchment, powerless, mortal. Izuku stood over him, hands still glowing faintly. You'll die immortal, he said quietly. That's punishment enough. AFO laughed, bitter, broken. Blood flecked his lips. You think you won? He coughed, body convulsing. You're just like me now, deciding who lives and dies. Playing God. Izuku's expression didn't change. No, you decided out of greed. I decide out of duty. He knelt, met AFO's fading gaze. That's the difference you'll never understand. AFO's eyes dimmed, consciousness fading. Duty, greed, same thing, in the end. His head lolled, unconscious, not dead, just finished, was floated forward, staff glowing. Divine seals wrapped around AFO's body, crystallizing him in temporal stasis. I shall deliver him to the grand priest for judgment. Well done, Izuku. Izuku didn't respond. He was staring at his hand, the one that had severed 2 centuries of stolen power, the one that had decided AFO's fate. Playing God, you passed the real test. Beerus stood, shakily, one hand on the shattered pillar for support. His fur was singed, his regalia torn, but he was grinning. Izuku looked up. What test? Knowing when not to destroy. Beerus limped over, clapped a paw on Izuku's shoulder. You could have erased him. Hakai. Clean. Simple. I would have. Old me definitely would have. He squeezed once. But you found another way. Stripped his power, left him alive to face mortal consequence. That's... Beerus' grin softened. That's what I hoped you'd learn. Destruction isn't always annihilation. Sometimes it's just removing what doesn't belong. Izuku's throat tightened, but I still decided. I still chose that he loses everything. How is that different from? Because you agonized over it. Beerus released his shoulder, turned toward Whis. Gods who don't question their choices become tyrants. Gods who question every choice become paralyzed. You're learning balance. That's all godhood is, one long lesson in balance. Whis smiled, eyes closed. Genuine pleasure. Indeed, I'm quite proud, if I'm permitted to say so. Izuku looked at them, his mentors, his teachers in cosmic duty. Then he looked at the crystallized AFO, at the mortal man who tried to steal godhood and failed because he'd fundamentally misunderstood what godhood was. "I need to get back to Earth," Izuku said quietly. "Class 2A is fighting the rot. Alone." Beerus waved him off. "Go. I'll recover. Whis will handle the cleanup." "Lord Beerus requires a 14-hour nap and a feast," Whis added cheerfully. "I shall prepare both. You, Izuku, should check on your friends. I suspect they've surprised you." Izuku's aura flared. He vanished in purple-gold light. Behind him, Beerus slumped against the pillar, exhaustion catching up. "Whis." "Yes, my lord. Don't tell him I'm proud." Whis' smile widened. "As you wish, though I believe he already knows." Beerus snorted, closed his eyes. "Good. Let him know. Kid earned it." And the god of destruction, for the first time in 75 million years, felt relief at the thought of his successor. Not because Izuku was powerful, but because he was good, and that made all the difference. The throne room on Beerus' planet was crystalline silence. No grand ceremony, no witnesses, just three beings at the axis of universal balance. Beerus sat on his throne, not lounge, sat, spine straight, golden eyes focused. For the first time in 75 million years, he looked awake, present, ready. Izuku stood before him, still in his Earth-style GI. Purple sash, red shoes, human enough, divine enough. Caught between, was floated to the side, staff held in both hands, expression serene but eyes sharp. Observing, recording. This moment would echo across eternity. "Kneel," Beerus said quietly. Izuku knelt. The god of destruction rose, slowly, joints protesting millennia of existence, and descended the 3 steps from his throne. Each footfall rang like the closing of cosmic doors. He stopped in front of Izuku, looked down at the boy who'd learned restraint, who'd chosen surgical severance over total erasure, who'd hesitated before destruction and mourned after, who still smiled, sometimes when he thought no one was watching. Beerus placed his paw on Izuku's chest. "This will hurt," he said simply. And then, transfer. Purple gold light erupted. Izuku screamed. Divine energy flooded his body. Not gently, not gradually, but in a torrential cascade that rewrote every cell. His mortal structure buckled under godhood's weight. Bones reinforced with cosmic density. Muscles reforged into something beyond biology. Neural pathways expanded to process reality at fundamental levels. His scars, the lightning patterns on his arms, the faint mark from muscular, the stardust burns across his chest, faded. Not erased, just absorbed, integrated into divine physiology. His eyes burned. The purple gold that had flickered based on emotion stabilized into permanent duality. Irises that shifted between colors not from feeling, but from existence itself. He was both states simultaneously now. The pain was exquisite, cellular, existential, and then silence. The light faded. Izuku gasped, hands braced on crystalline floor, sweat dripping despite divine conditioning. Whis spoke, voice clinical but not cold. "The mortal coil is being reinforced. You will not age. You will not die easily. True death requires cosmic-scale destruction now. Your ties to Earth are permanent, encoded into your divine essence. But you're no longer bound by its limitations." Izuku looked up. His hands, still his hands, but wrong somehow. Too perfect, too eternal. Beerus stepped back, swaying slightly. The energy transfer had taken something from him, too, the last vestiges of active duty. He looked lighter, tired, but in the way someone feels after completing a lifelong task. "Your candidate god of destruction, Universe 7, Earth Division," Beerus said. His voice carried weight it hadn't before. Official proclamation echoing across dimensional barriers. Angels in other universes would feel this shift. Gods would know. "Not full god yet," he continued. "You still have mortal attachments. Friends. Feelings. That smile." He almost smiled himself. Almost. "But you'll grow into it, whether you want to or not." Izuku's throat tightened. "Will I lose myself completely?" Beerus tilted his head, ear twitching left, contemplation, not annoyance. That's up to you. I never smiled. Stop caring about individual lives after the first few million years. Let duty consume everything else. His golden eyes softened, just fractionally. You keep that smile, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. It'll make you a better god than I ever was. Or a more tragic one, Whis added, tapping his staff once. The sound rippled reality. Time will tell. Gods who feel deeply either become saviors, or collapse under the weight of what they cannot save. Izuku stood. His legs were steady, too steady. No mortal tremor. Divine balance encoded into every movement. I'm afraid, he admitted quietly, of forgetting, of waking up one day and not remembering why I started this, not remembering who I was. Beerus walked back to his throne. Saturday. This time, he did lounge, shoulders relaxing, ears drooping. Exhaustion finally allowed. You'll remember, he said. Only if you let yourself. Then softer, I'm ready to rest now. It was the most vulnerable thing Izuku had ever heard him say. Was floated forward, eyes closing as he smiled. Genuine pleasure, the rare expression that meant true satisfaction. You have done well, Lord Beerus. And you, he opened one eye, looking at Izuku, will do better, or worse. Either way, it will be fascinating to observe. That's not reassuring, Izuku muttered. It was not meant to be. Whis' smile widened. Beerus waved a paw dismissively. Go back to Earth. Check on your mortals. They probably did something reckless while you were gone. He yawned, massive, fong-filled yawn. Don't let duty erase your humanity, boy. That's what makes you dangerous. In the best way. Izuku touched his chest, where Beerus' paw had rested, where divine energy now thrummed instead a human heart. Not replacing. Coexisting. Thank you, he whispered, for choosing me, for believing I could be more than. Stop. Beerus' voice was firm. I didn't choose you to make you grateful. I chose you because you're already more. You just didn't know it yet. A pause. Now, get out. I have 75 million years of sleep to catch up on. Izuku bowed, deep, formal, the way students honor masters. Then he straightened. Purple gold aura flickered to life, stronger now, more controlled, permanent, and he vanished. The silence that followed was comfortable, was floated to Beerus' side, staff glowing softly. You did not tell him. Tell him what? Beerus' eyes were already closing. That you see your brother in him. That this is as much about honoring Kampa's memory as it is about succession. Beerus snorted. He doesn't need my baggage. Kid has enough of his own. And yet you gave him the one piece of advice you wish someone had given you. Whis' voice was gentle. Don't let duty erase your humanity. Beerus' ear twitched. Left side. Annoyance. Shut up and let me sleep. As you wish, Lord Beerus. Whis prepared tea from nowhere, sipping thoughtfully. For what it's worth, I believe he will keep the smile, even when the universe asks him to stop. Good. Beerus' breathing deepened, slowing toward divine hibernation. That smile's going to save more than he realizes. Or destroy him. 50-50 odds. Quite the legacy to leave. Yeah. Beerus smiled, small, private, quickly hidden. It is. And the god of destruction, for the first time in millennia, slept peacefully, knowing the universe was in hands that would care too much rather than too little. And, somehow, that was exactly right. Earth, UA Training Grounds, 017 Japan, Standard Time. Izuku materialized 3 feet off the ground, hovering unconsciously, old habit, then forced himself down. Feet touched earth. Stay grounded. Literally. The ceremony had taken minutes. He felt centuries older. His hands shook, not from fear but from awareness. He could sense Earth's rotation, feel continental drift, hear the sun's fusion reactions from 93 million miles away. Mortality had been a filter. Godhood removed it. Everything was too much. He looked at the UA dorms, lights still on in the common room. Class 2, awake at midnight, probably arguing about the rot fight. Probably injured. Probably alive. Because he trusted them. And they'd proven that trust wasn't abandonment. Izuku closed his eyes. Breathed. Let his aura dim until it was barely visible. purple gold reduced to faint shimmer. When he opened them, they were still dual-colored. Permanent now. No going back. Candidate God of Destruction, Universe 7, Earth Division. He'd accepted a title that would follow him forever. A burden he could never set down. But Beerus' words echoed. Don't let duty erase your humanity. That's what makes you dangerous. In the best way. And Whis. Gods who feel deeply either become saviors or collapse under the weight. 50-50 odds. Izuku started walking toward the dorms. Not floating. Walking. Human motion, even if his body wasn't fully human anymore. The door opened before he reached it. Uraraka stood there, costume torn, face smudged with dust, but smiling. Alive. Whole. Deku, she said. Just that. His name. The nickname that meant everything. Behind her, Class 2A crowded the entrance. Bakugo, arms crossed, new burn scar on his shoulder. Todoroki, frost still melting from his right side. Ida, polishing cracked glasses. All of them, battered. Triumphant. Alive. We won. Uraraka added unnecessarily. All 12 wrought manifestations. Contained, then dissipated. No casualties. Izuku's throat tightened. His eyes, purple gold, inhuman, burned with very human tears he still couldn't shed. But he smiled. Small, broken at the edges. Genuine. I knew you would, he said quietly, and meant it, because he was a god now. Candidate, at least. Powerful enough to reshape reality. But he was still Deku, still the boy who believed his friends could do the impossible. And that belief, that humanity, was the most dangerous power he'd ever wield. In the best way. UA High School, ruins. Izuku materialized in the courtyard and froze. The school was shattered. Training ground beta, where he'd learned to walk again with Uraraka just hours ago, was a crater. Dorm buildings listed at 45-degree angles. Support beams exposed like broken ribs. Scorch marks spiderwebbed across concrete, where the rot's erasure had been barely contained. Reality still glitched in patches, space folding incorrectly, colors inverted, time stuttering. 12 manifestations. 12 simultaneous battles. In Class 2A had won. Without him, Izuku's chest tightened. His divine senses cataloged the damage instantly. Structural integrity compromised in 6 buildings, dimensional tears sealed but unstable, residual void energy that would take weeks to dissipate. Focus. Casualties. He moved. The medical wing was chaos. Recovery girl directing triage, pro-heroes on gurneys, students bandaged and trembling. Izuku's eyes found his classmates immediately. Bakugo on a bed, unconscious, arms wrapped in thermal blankets. 3rd degree burns up to his elbows. Explosion overuse, cellular damage from sustained cluster grenade spam. Cardiac monitor beeped steadily. Alive. Barely. Todoroki 3 beds over. Hypothermic, body temperature dangerously low. He'd used his ice side too long containing the rot spread. Frostbite across his right arm, lips blue. Breathing shallow. Uraraka slumped in a chair, for drip in her arm, anti-nausea medication flooding her system. She'd overextended her quirk. Meteor storm for 40 straight minutes. Her hands shook even unconscious. Ida's leg brace was cracked. Momo's costume torn. Kirishima's hardening had fractured in places. Jiro's earphone jacks were bleeding. They'd won. At tremendous cost. Izuku's hands clenched. His first instinct, the old instinct, was guilt. I should have been here. I should have protected them. I could have. Then Beerus' voice echoed in his mind. They chose this. Honor their choice by succeeding in yours. Izuku's shoulders straightened. They'd chosen to fight. Chosen to trust him with the cosmic threat while they handled Earth. And they'd succeeded. He wouldn't insult that by apologizing for their heroism. Midoriya. Aizawa's voice cut through the medical wing noise. The teacher looked exhausted, capture weapon shredded, eye bloodshot from extended quirk use, but alert. You're back. Good. He gestured toward the courtyard. Less good. Hero commissions here. With an arrest warrant. Izuku's eyes flickered purple gold. Let me handle it. Courtyard. Public confrontation. Izuku stepped outside to find 50 commission agents in tactical gear, quirk suppression equipment ready, surrounded by news helicopters, pro-heroes keeping distance, students watching from broken windows. The commission president stood at the center, severe bun perfect despite the chaos, tablet in hand, displaying legal documents. Izuku Midoriya, she announced, voice projecting across the ruins. You're under arrest for unlicensed quirk usage, international vigilantism, unauthorized dimensional travel, and operating as a hero without Hero Public Safety Commission oversight. You will surrender immediately for power evaluation and reality warped. Whis materialized between Izuku and the commission forces. He appeared from nowhere, staff glowing faintly, floating 3 inches off the ground with perfect posture. "Oh my," he said pleasantly. "How fascinating. You're attempting to arrest my student." The president's professional mask cracked. This doesn't concern you." "Incorrect." Whis tapped his staff once. The sound rippled across dimensions. "Izuku Midoriya is candidate god of destruction, Universe 7, Earth Division. He operates under divine jurisdiction, not mortal governance. There's no such legal framework. Your laws," Whis interrupted gently, eyes closing as he smiled, "do not apply to cosmic entities. Attempting to enforce mortal regulations on godhood is adorable, but ultimately futile." The commission agents shifted nervously. Suppression equipment hummed uselessly. Nothing they carried could affect an angel. The president's voice hardened. "This is a matter of public safety. He wields unregulated power, regulated by entities you cannot comprehend." Whis' smile never wavered, but his tone dropped to something infinitely polite and infinitely dangerous. "Would you like me to file a formal complaint with Zeno-sama? The Omni King takes a dim view of mortals interfering with divine succession. He might erase your reality as bureaucratic inefficiency. Shall I arrange a meeting?" Silence. Every camera focused on the president's face as color drained from it. We'll need to consult." "Please do." Whis gestured graciously toward the commission vehicles. "Take your time. Eternity is patient." The president retreated. Agents followed. Within 90 seconds, the convoy was gone. Whis turned to Izuku, eyes opening. "That was enjoyable. Mortal bureaucracy is so delightfully fragile." He floated closer, voice lowering. "You have an audience. I suggest you use it." Then he vanished, leaving Izuku alone with hundreds of eyes. Cameras, heroes, students, the world watching. Izuku looked at them, at the gathered remnants of hero society, at the people who'd just watched divine authority override their laws, and made a choice. He stepped forward. Purple gold aura flickered to life, just enough to be visible on camera, but not threatening. His voice carried across the ruins without shouting. "I'm not a pro-hero anymore." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I can't be. What I've become, it doesn't fit your system. It shouldn't." He gestured to the destroyed school. "You have heroes for Earth-level threats. Villains, disasters, conflicts between people with powers. That's your world. Handle it." His eyes swept across them, not cold but direct. "Honest. I'll handle mine. Gods, dimensions, cosmic disasters that would erase you before you knew they existed. Threats that heroes can't touch." He paused. "Trust me to handle my world, and I'll trust you to handle yours." A reporter shouted. "How do we know you won't abuse that power?" Izuku's gaze found the camera, found the millions watching worldwide. "You don't. That's the nature of godhood. You have to trust I'll make the right calls. But I'm still Izuku Midoriya, still the kid who wanted to save everyone with a smile." His expression softened just slightly. "I'll protect this world from threats you'll never see. And I'll do it because I choose to, not because anyone can force me." He looked toward the medical wing, toward his classmates, battered but alive. They chose to fight the rot, chose to trust me with the cosmic threat while they defended Earth. And they won. His voice carried pride now. That's the balance. Heroes on Earth, gods in the cosmos, both protecting the same thing. Silence. Then, "Damn right." Bakugo's voice cut across the courtyard, rough and loud. He'd woken up, stumbled to the medical wing window, arms still bandaged, grinning like a feral cat. Idiot still trying to save everyone, just from orbit now. Someone had to handle the god-level crap. Might as well be Deku. He leaned out further, ignoring a nurse trying to pull him back. Rest of us handle Earth stuff. That's the deal. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Surprised, relieved, human. Uraraka appeared beside Bakugo, pale but smiling. He's right. Dekukuin's just operating on a bigger scale now. But he's still our Deku. Todoroki joined them at the window, Frost still clinging to his right side. If Midoriya is handling cosmic threats, we focus on terrestrial ones. Division of labor. Logical. More class 2, a members crowded the window. Ida hand-chopping despite his cracked brace. Momo nodding with analytical approval. Kaminari giving thumbs up. Sue rib-biting encouragement. The narrative shifted before Izuku's eyes. Not God versus heroes, but God and heroes. A pro-hero, someone Izuku didn't know, stepped forward. So, we call you when something's beyond us. Izuku nodded. If it's cosmic, dimensional, or God level, I'll handle it. Everything else. He looked at Class 2A, at the pro-heroes, at the students who'd fought 12 rot manifestations simultaneously in one. Is yours. You're more than capable. Another hero. What if you go rogue? What if power corrupts you? Izuku's expression didn't change. Then I trust heroes to stop me. Same way I trusted them to handle the rot today. He met their eyes. Power doesn't corrupt. Isolation does. As long as I stay connected to Earth, to the people I'm protecting, I'll be fine. He glanced at the medical wing. At Bakugo, who'd woken up just to call him an idiot. At Uraraka, who'd thrown a rock at his head to ground him. At Todoroki, who understood burden. They'll keep me human, Izuku said simply. Even when I'm a god. The cameras kept rolling. The world kept watching. And slowly, hesitantly, heroes began to nod. Not all of them. Some looked skeptical, fearful, but enough. Enough to shift the narrative from threat to contain to protector at different scale. Izuku turned and walked toward the medical wing. Not floating, walking, feet on earth. Behind him, reporters scrambled for statements. Heroes debated. Students cheered. The god who smiled had returned. And for the first time since transformation, it didn't feel like exile. It felt like coming home, just a different kind of home than before. Midoriya Agency, 6 months later. The building looked normal from the outside. Sleek glass and steel, modern hero agency aesthetic, blending into Tokyo's skyline. 43 floors of offices, training facilities, dormitories. The 44th floor didn't exist, except when you took the elevator. Bakugo stepped out and his stomach lurched. The space defied physics. Walls curved impossibly. Gravity shifted direction mid-room. Windows showed different dimensions simultaneously. One looked at Mars, another at a nebula, a third at what might have been Universe 6. I hate this floor, he muttered. Lord Beerus finds it charming. Whis' voice chimed from nowhere. The angel had designed it as a training environment, which meant reality was optional. Izuku stood at the center, purple gold aura dim but present, eyes tracking something the others couldn't see. He'd changed in 6 months, still wore the black and gold GI, red shoes, but moved with more confidence. Less isolation, more balance. Scenario active, he announced. Dimensional rift incoming. Reality tour. A jagged wound opened in midair, bleeding crimson energy. Something crawled through, humanoid but wrong. Too many limbs. Eyes that saw through time. Power radiating like nuclear fire. Reality warper. Momo analyzed instantly. Creation quirk already forming scanning equipment. Power signature matches Omega-class threats. Traditional engagement would require. We're not engaging. Izuku interrupted calmly. He gestured to the rift. What's the actual problem? Todoroki tilted his head. The entity? The rift. Izuku pointed. The entity is just a symptom. Close the rift, sever its connection to its home dimension, and he made a cutting motion with his hand. The rift sealed. The reality warper flickered, then dissolved, power source severed, unable to maintain cohesion in this dimension. Threat eliminated. Zero combat. Bakugo's palms crackled with frustration. So, we just cut power sources? That's it. No fight. Izuku turned, eyes flickering between purple and gold. You'd rather fight a god-level threat head-on when you can just remove what makes him a threat? Bakugo clenched his fists. Hated the logic. That's actually smart. Damn it. You're learning to destroy problems, not people. Izuku's voice carried the weight of divine training. Subtle difference. Critical difference. Todoroki's right side frosted over. Unconscious reaction when thinking hard. Like removing fire's oxygen. Exactly. Izuku almost smiled. Bakugo, your tactical lead. What's the traditional hero approach here? Engage threat, contain collateral, evacuate civilians, overwhelm with force. And the destruction approach. Bakugo exhaled sharply. Identify root cause. Eliminate root cause. Threat disappears automatically. Efficient. Izuku gestured and another scenario spawned. Dimensional collapse, spreading like infection. Todoroki, this one's yours. Shoto stepped forward, analyzing. Traditional approach would be ice walls to contain spread, which would fail. This is space-time decay, not physical expansion. Then, Todoroki's heterochromatic eyes narrowed. Find a collapse point. Freeze the dimensional coordinates. Prevent cascade. Izuku nodded. Momo, build him a dimensional anchor. Uraraka, if the anchor's too heavy, you'll need to. Make it weightless so he can position it precisely. Ochako was already touching fingertips together, ready. Got it, Dekukin. The training continued. Scenario after scenario. Dimensional rifts. Reality glitches. Cosmic anomalies that would make traditional heroes panic. But this wasn't a traditional team anymore. Mission montage, Tokyo metro area. Week 1, dimensional collapse in Shibuya. Midoriya agency response. Todoroki deploys anchor. Bakugo coordinates civilian evacuation. Uraraka manages aerial rescue. Collapse sealed in 90 seconds. 0 casualties. Pro heroes arrive to find situation already resolved. Week 3. Reality glitch turns 6 blocks incorporeal. Momo builds stabilization equipment. Ida coordinates with local authorities. Files proper dimensional incident reports in triplicate. Glitch corrected. City thanks those cosmic kids. Week 5. Eldritch entity breaches from Universe 4. Traditional heroes engage, failing. Midoriya agency arrives. Izuku doesn't fight it, severs its dimensional tether. Entity returns home automatically. Battle over in 30 seconds. Week 8. News headline. Cosmic Intervention Unit. New model for hero work? Normal heroes handled normal crime. Midoriya agency handled everything else. Separation of scales. Just like Izuku promised. Agency common room. Evening. Class 1A visited on a field trip. 15-year-olds wide-eyed and whispering. They crowded the common room while Izuku gave an impromptu lecture, perched on a desk, less formal than All Might ever was. Heroism isn't about power level, he said, purple gold eyes sweeping across nervous first years. It's about choosing to act when no one else can. Whether that's saving a cat from a tree or saving a universe from dimensional collapse. He touched his chest. Same heart, same choice. A student raised her hand. But you're a god. How can we? I'm a candidate god who used to break his bones every fight because I didn't know my own limits. Izuku's expression softened. Nostalgic. You'll surpass your limits too. Just, hopefully with better strategy than I had. Nervous laughter. The first years relaxed slightly. After they left, the core team gathered for dinner. Izuku ate like Beerus now. Massive portions, refined taste, 3 full plates of premium katsu curry. You eat like a starving god, Bakugo observed, shoving rice into his own mouth. I am one, Izuku replied, mouth full, completely unself-conscious. The table went silent. Then Kirishima, who joined for dinner, laughed. Dude, that's so manly. Just casual god admission. Bakugo snorted. Todoroki's lips twitched. Uraraka giggled. Ida adjusted his glasses to hide a smile. And Izuku laughed too. Genuine. Unforced. The sound of someone who'd found equilibrium. Ochako met Momo's eyes across the table. Mouthed silently. He's smiling more. Momo nodded, pulling up statistics on her tablet. Whispered back. Agency has 40% higher success rate than traditional agencies. And his personal happiness index increased 37% since establishing the team. You track his happiness? Someone has to. Momo's expression was matter of fact. He won't monitor his own mental health. Todoroki, overhearing, stated bluntly, "You're teaching us to think like you. Is that dangerous?" Izuku paused mid-bite. Considered seriously. "Very. That's why I'm teaching you. That logic is questionable." Ida interjected, hand-chopping. "As team coordinator, I must insist that Rule 47 clearly states that any reality warping training requires proper dimensional incident reports filed in." "We're eating, Four Eyes." Bakugo interrupted. "Can the paperwork wait? Proper documentation is essential for her." "Ida." Izuku's voice cut through gently. "We'll file reports tomorrow." "Very well, but I'm holding you accountable, Midoriya." The banter continued. Easy. Familiar. They weren't replacing Class 2A dynamics. They were expanding them. Cosmic scale threats, same human connections. Uraraka leaned back, watching Izuku argue with Bakugo about curry spice levels. Todoroki deadpan suggesting they simply destroy all mild curry. Ida insisting that curry preferences are a personal choice protected under Agency Rule 93. This was balance. God-level power. Human-level bonds. Destruction philosophy. Hero heart. The god who smiled, finally smiling again. Rooftop later. Izuku stood alone, looking at Tokyo's lights. Purple gold aura barely visible. Whis appeared, floating, staff glowing softly. "Enjoying your experiment?" the angel asked. "It's working." Izuku's voice carried quiet satisfaction. "They're learning. Not just techniques, philosophy. How to think cosmically while staying grounded." "And you?" Whis' eyes opened slightly. "Have you learned that same balance?" Izuku glanced at the common room below, laughter echoing through windows, his team arguing about dessert choices. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think I finally have." Whis smiled, eyes closing fully. Genuine pleasure. "Good. Lord Beerus will be irritated that you succeeded where he struggled for millennia. I'll look forward to informing him." He vanished, leaving Izuku alone with the city lights. But not lonely. Never lonely anymore. Below, Bakugo's voice shouted, "Oh, Deku, you gonna help us settle this argument or be a cosmic weirdo on the roof all night?" Izuku grinned. Stepped off the roof. Didn't fall, didn't fly. Just moved downward with divine grace and rejoined his team. God and hero. Destroyer and protector. Finally, impossibly both. Global Emergency Broadcast, 9:47 Japan, Standard Time. Catastrophic stellar collapse detected in HD 12345, approximately 8.7 light-years from Earth. Scientists estimate supernova detonation in 10 hours. The shockwave, traveling at relativistic speeds, will impact Earth's magnetosphere within. The newscaster's voice cracked. There is no evacuation protocol for this scenario. Hero Public Safety Commission, emergency session. The conference room was chaos. Pro-heroes shouting over each other, holographic star charts showing the collapse trajectory, red alerts screaming from every screen. Evacuation ships can't. Not enough time. Shelters won't survive. The president stood, silencing the room with a single raised hand. Her face was ashen, professional mask crumbling. "We need Midoriya." Silence. Then Endeavor's flames flared. "You spent 6 months trying to arrest him. Now you want his help. This isn't about jurisdiction." Her voice was hollow. "It's about survival. 7 billion lives." Midoriya Agency, common room. Izuku stood motionless, eyes fixed on the holographic star chart Momo had projected. The dying star pulsed red, core temperature spiking, gravity destabilizing, fusion chain reactions cascading toward catastrophic detonation. 10 hours. The team gathered around him, silent, waiting. Bakugo broke the silence first. "So, you doing this?" Izuku's hands clenched. For a moment, just a moment, he hesitated. 7 billion lives. Again, he destroyed a star before. 3 months into training. Whis had detected the stellar collapse. Sent him alone, told him choose. Izuku had chosen. Triggered controlled demolition. Saved 7 billion people who never knew how close they'd come to annihilation. No one had thanked him. No one had known. This time, Earth was watching. Deku-kun. Uraraka's hand touched his shoulder gently. "You've done this before. Not with everyone watching." His voice was quiet. What if they see me destroy a star and decide I'm the threat?" Todoroki stepped forward, heterochromatic eyes steady. "Then they will be alive to fear you. That is acceptable." Bakugo snorted. "Besides, if you fail, we all die together. No pressure." Izuku looked at them, his team, his friends, standing with him even at the end of everything. He straightened, eyes shifting purple gold. "Momo, connect me to every network. Global broadcast. Global transmission. 10:02 Japan Standard Time." Every screen worldwide flickered. News broadcasts interrupted. Social media went silent. Izuku Midoriya's face appeared. Purple gold eyes calm. Expression serious, but not cold. "I'm Izuku Midoriya, candidate god of destruction, Universe 7. His voice carried no stutter, no hesitation. Pure calm authority. "The star designated HD 12345 is already dead. Its core has collapsed. If I do nothing, its death becomes yours." He paused, letting that sink in. "I can end it cleanly. Controlled collapse into stable neutron star. 0 casualties. 0 shockwave. But I need you to understand." His gaze met the camera directly. "I'm not killing a star. Stars die. That's entropy. Natural. Necessary." His hands came into frame, purple gold energy flickering. "I'm preventing its corpse from taking 7 billion lives with it." The broadcast cut to chaos. News anchors stammering, social media exploding. "He can't just destroy a star. This is insane. Who gave him authority?" Izuku's voice cut through, gentle but firm. "Watch me. Low Earth orbit. 10:15 Japan Standard Time." Izuku ascended. Every satellite tracked him. Every telescope focused. 7 billion people watched screens as a single figure rose through atmosphere, trailing purple gold light. He didn't fly. He moved, space folding around him, divine energy propelling him beyond mortal physics. Within minutes, he cleared Earth's orbit. The dying star was visible now, a crimson wound in space, pulsing erratically. Izuku stopped, floated in vacuum. His aura blazed, visible from Earth's surface, a second sun burning purple gold. He raised both hands. The gesture was familiar, the same one he'd used 3 months ago when no one was watching. But then his hands had shaken. Fear, doubt, imposter syndrome screaming, "Who are you to decide?" Now his hands were steady. Entropy severance. Purple gold energy lanced across 8.7 light years in an instant. Divine power ignoring relativistic limits. It struck the star's core like surgical thread, weaving through collapsing matter. The star stopped dying. Instead, it folded. Outer layers compressed inward. Not explosion, but implosion. Controlled. Precise. Matter crushed into neutron-dense core. Excess energy bleeding off as beautiful cascades of light. Earth's sky erupted in aurora. Shimmering curtains of green, purple, gold, cosmic radiation harmlessly deflected by Earth's magnetic field, transformed into the most beautiful light show in recorded history. The shock wave never came. Just light. Just beauty. Just 7 billion lives that wouldn't end today. Midoriya Agency. 11:47 Japan Standard Time. Izuku landed on the roof. Not collapsed, not exhausted, just quiet. He descended to the common room, where his team had watched everything on screens. Uraraka was crying. Relief, not fear. Todoroki nodded once, stoic approval. Ito was already drafting incident reports, Rule 73, stellar intervention documentation. Momo pulled up global response analytics. Bakugo just grinned. Told you. No pressure. The screen still showed news coverage. But the tone had shifted. Stars saved. Midoriya prevents extinction event. He wasn't destroying. He was pruning. The god who protects by ending. On one broadcast, a child, maybe 8 years old, pointed at the aurora still shimmering outside. Mommy, he's like a space hero. Her mother, who'd been terrified an hour ago, smiled. Yeah, I guess he is. Another screen showed Endeavor's interview. The #1 hero stood with arms crossed, flames dim. He's redefining what hero means, Endeavor said quietly. I spent my career believing power equals responsibility. He's teaching us power equals sacrifice. Choosing what must end so everything else can continue. The reporter pressed, but the destruction was mercy. Endeavor's flames flared briefly. He gave that star, and us, a clean ending instead of a catastrophic one. If that's not heroism, I don't know what is. Izuku read the headlines, listened to the broadcasts, watched global opinion shift in real time. They understood. Finally, they understood. Destruction wasn't violence. It was gardening, pruning dead branches so the tree could live. He smiled, small, genuine, the expression Beerus had told him to keep. The god who smiled. Uraraka read aloud, pointing at one headline. That's you, Deku. Yeah. Izuku's purple-gold eyes softened to green for just a moment. Fully human. Fully present. It is. Outside, the aurora faded. Earth continued spinning. 7 billion lives continued living. And somewhere on Beerus' planet, an old god smiled in his sleep. Mission accomplished. The god who smiled had become exactly what the universe needed. Someone who destroyed with compassion. Someone who saved by knowing what to let go. Someone who carried cosmic duty without losing his human heart. Balance achieved. Finally. Perfectly. Human. Mizuta-fu rooftop. Sunset. The same rooftop. The same view. Izuku stood exactly where he'd stood 4 years ago. Quirkless middle schooler, notebook clutched to chest, hearing the words that changed everything. You could become a hero. Now he protected this city from threats All Might couldn't have imagined. Stars. Dimensions. Entropy itself. The rooftop door creaked. Toshinori Yagi emerged, deflated form, skeletal and hunched, moving slower than Izuku remembered. He looked older, worn, but his eyes were clear. He stopped beside Izuku. Didn't speak. Just stood there, two figures watching the sun paint Tokyo gold and crimson. The silence stretched. Comfortable. No tension. No expectation. Just peace. Finally, All Might spoke. His voice was quiet, barely audible over the wind. I was wrong, wasn't I? Izuku's purple-gold eyes flickered to green for just a moment. He didn't answer immediately. All Might continued, hands gripping the railing. When I said, save everyone with a smile, I made it sound absolute, a commandment, but it was just. He exhaled shakily. My way, not the way. Izuku turned fully to face his mentor, the man who'd given him everything, the man whose approval had defined his entire existence. You gave me the foundation, Izuku said softly. The heart, the why. I just built something different on top of it. That's not wrong. That's growth. All Might's shoulders sagged. Relief, regret, pride all tangled together. Are you happy? The question hung in the air like a prayer. Izuku looked at his hands. Purple gold energy flickered faintly around his fingers. Divine power he could never fully shut off anymore. I don't know if gods are supposed to be happy, he admitted. Honest. Raw. But I'm complete. I have purpose. I protect what I love by making impossible choices. He met All Might's gaze. That's enough. All Might's eyes glistened. He touched his chest scar, old habit when emotional, and smiled. Not the symbol of peace smile. Just, Toshinori, proud teacher, you're a better hero than I ever was. No. Izuku's voice was firm. I'm a different kind of hero. You showed me what heroism looks like from the ground, saving people one by one, making them feel safe, giving them hope. He gestured to the sky, where stars were beginning to appear. I'm showing people what it looks like from up there. Same heart. Different scale. All Might laughed, wet, broken, joyful. What did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. Izuku's lips quirked. Several, actually, but you were first. They stood together as the sun sank lower. Tokyo's lights began to flicker on, millions of lives continuing because cosmic threats never reached them. Because someone pruned the dead stars before they could become supernovas. All Might coughed, harsh, rattling. Blood spotted his handkerchief. Izuku's hand was on his shoulder immediately. Steadying. Supporting. Role reversal. Student holding up mentor. I'm proud of you, young Midoriya. Izuku's breath caught. His eyes burned, still couldn't cry. Hated that he'd lost that, but the feeling was there. Overwhelming. All-consuming. When he spoke, his voice cracked for the first time since returning to Earth. Thank you. That means everything. All Might gripped Izuku's arm. Squeezed once. Just. His voice dropped to a whisper. Don't lose the part of you that cried for others. That's the part that makes you you. Not the power. Not the title. That heart. I'm trying. Izuku's admission was barely audible. Some days are harder than others. Then let your friends help. That girl, Uraraka. The explosive boy. All of them. They'll keep you human when godhood makes you forget. Izuku nodded. Couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. They watched the sunset complete its descent. The sky darkened. Stars emerged one by one. Ancient light from distant suns, some already dead, their final messages still traveling through the void. Izuku's silhouette was backlit by purple-gold aura, faint but undeniable. Different from the boy who'd stood here 4 years ago. Different from any hero who'd come before. All Might's silhouette was smaller, frilier, but still present, still standing beside his successor. You know, All Might said quietly, I used to think passing on one for all meant you'd become me, a second symbol of peace. And now I realize you became something better, something the world needed more. He smiled, genuine, unburdened. The god who smiled. Izuku looked at his mentor, at the man who'd seen a quirkless kid and given him a chance, who'd watched that kid become something impossible and still stood beside him. I couldn't have become this without you, Izuku said. The god part came from Beerus, but the part that still cares? The part that mourns when I have to destroy? The part that smiles? He touched his chest, where a human heart still beat beneath divine physiology. That's all you. All Might's hand found Izuku's shoulder, gripped tight. Then I didn't fail after all. No. Izuku's voice was firm. Certain. You never failed. You just prepared me for a destiny neither of us could see. The night deepened. The city glowed below. The stars burned above. 2 heroes stood on a rooftop. One retired, one evolved. And for the first time in months, both felt at peace. All Might broke the silence one last time. Will you still visit? Even when cosmic duty calls? Izuku smiled. Small. Genuine. The smile Beerus told him to keep. Always. Gods need mentors too. Then I'll keep the coffee warm. They stayed until the stars fully emerged. Ancient and endless and beautiful. And somewhere in the cosmic distance, Whis observed through his staff, smiled with closed eyes, and noted in divine script. The student has found balance. The teacher has found peace. Universe 7's grand experiment succeeds. Morning sunlight filtered through the windows of the Cosmic Intervention Agency, a name Ida had insisted on, complete with official letterhead. Izuku sat at a desk that felt simultaneously too large and too small, cradling a cup of coffee between his hands. The warmth was unnecessary. Divine physiology rendered temperature irrelevant. But the ritual mattered. The taste mattered. Some human comforts were worth keeping. His eyes scanned holographic displays floating above the desk. Dimensional stability reports, reality integrity readings, entropy measurements across 7 parallel universes. All green, all stable. Earth's timeline held firm, its heroes holding the line he'd drawn in stardust and determination. Through the window, he could see the training grounds. Class 2. A's Earthside team running drills with new recruits. Bakugo's voice carried even through reinforced glass. If Deku taught me anything, It's that power means shit without knowing when to use it. Todoroki stepped forward, ice crystals dancing around his left side. And when not to use it, a smile tugged at Izuku's lips, small, genuine. They understood. Finally, the door opened. Uraraka entered, tablet in hand, professional hero costume replacing the training gear she'd worn years ago. Morning briefing. Press conference went okay. Reporters are still skeptical about cosmic intervention protocols, but public approval is up 3%. Progress, Izuku said. Slow progress. She sat on the edge of his desk, and for a moment, she was just Ochako again, the girl who'd called him Deku and meant it kindly. You doing okay? You got that look. What look? The I'm listening to things mortals can't hear look. He blinked, pulled his attention fully back to Earth. Sorry. Dimensional frequencies. There's a humming. Nothing dangerous. Just Deku. She touched his hand. I know. I just want to make sure you were still here. With us. I am. He squeezed her hand gently, carefully, always aware now of how fragile human bones were compared to cosmic forces. I'm here. The door burst open. Ida marched in, arms laden with color-coded files. Good morning. I have organized this week's dimensional threat reports alphabetically by severity. Alpha-class threats are in red folders, beta-class in orange, and… Ida, Izuku interrupted gently. How many are there? 47. And how many are actually urgent? Ida's hand-chopping paused mid-gesture. 3. Let's start with those. Momo appeared in the doorway behind Ida, holding what looked like a crystalline circuit board wrapped in purple-gold energy threads. Midoriya, I've finished the prototype for the dimensional anchor. It should allow normal heroes to maintain stability in reality-fractured zones for up to 6 hours. Izuku stood, examining the device. Mortal ingenuity meeting divine energy. The bridge he'd been trying to build. This is incredible, Yaoyorozu. Well, I had excellent reference material. She smiled. Your energy signatures are surprisingly consistent once you account for the emotional variables. Meaning you're more stable when you remember you're human. The observation hit harder than intended. Before he could respond, the temperature in the room dropped. Not physically, metaphysically. Reality rippled like a stone thrown into still water. Everyone tensed. Hands moved toward weapons, quirks activated instinctively. It's okay. Izuku raised a hand, purple gold energy already flickering around his fingers. I know this signature. A pillar of light materialized in the center of the room, humming with divine frequency. When it faded, Whis stood there, immaculate as always, holding a teacup that definitely hadn't existed seconds ago. Lovely morning, Whis said pleasantly, taking a delicate sip. Izuku's expression didn't change, but his teammates recognized the shift immediately. The way his posture straightened, the way his eyes flickered from purple to gold. That tone means trouble, Izuku said quietly. Whis' smile never wavered. Oh my, am I so transparent? You only show up personally for serious problems. What happened? Universe 6 has developed a rather unfortunate situation. Another sip of tea. A reality-eating plague. Quite fascinating, really. It consumes the concept of existence itself, leaving behind philosophical void. Very thorough in its methodology. Their god of destruction. Kampa is 300 years old, practically an infant by our standards. Enthusiastic, certainly, but Whis made a graceful gesture that somehow conveyed both sympathy and mild disappointment. Inexperienced. The plague requires a more nuanced touch. Destruction without propagation. Precision without hesitation. And they asked for me. They asked for Universe 7's expertise. You're that expertise now. The room fell silent. Izuku looked back at his team. His friends. The people who'd stood by him through transformation, through cosmic horror, through the impossible choice between duty and desire. Bakugo met his eyes first. No words needed. The explosive hero jerked his chin toward the door. Go, you damn nerd. Todoroki's nod was almost imperceptible, but his heterochromatic eyes held absolute certainty. We've got this. Uraraka smiled, even as her eyes glistened. Go save a universe, Deku. We'll save Earth. Ida saluted crisply, folders still clutched against his chest. All systems operational, Midoriya. The planet is in capable hands. Momo simply said, "Come back when you can. We'll have dinner ready." Memories flickered through Izuku's mind like photographs in firelight. A quirkless kid standing on a rooftop at sunset, watching heroes fly past, notebook clutched to his chest, dreaming impossible dreams. All Might's skeletal hand extending through steam and shadow, golden light bleeding between fingers. You can become a hero. First A at UA, standing before massive doors. Class 2, in nameplate gleaming, his heart hammering with hope and terror. Training with Beerus in the void between stars. Every muscle screaming, the cat god's lazy voice. Again, destruction isn't hate, child. It's gardening. Staring at his own reflection in obsidian glass, eyes shifting from green to purple gold, whispering, "What have I become?" All Might on the rooftop, shoulders bowed, but eyes warm. Something new, something necessary, something I should have told you was possible. Uraraka's hand in his, grounding him. "You're not alone because you're too strong. You're alone because you won't let us in." Bakugo's grudging respect. "Just don't forget who you are, Deku. Gods can be idiots too." The sunrise after his first successful Hakai. Purple gold energy fading from his palms, the weight of what he'd unmade settling in his chest, and the certainty. This is who I am now. He wasn't abandoning Earth. He was protecting it the only way he could, by protecting the cosmos it existed within. Every universe saved was another reality where Earth could continue existing, where heroes could keep smiling, where kids could keep dreaming. His friends had become the heroes Earth needed. Now he had to be the god the universe required. "Let's go," Izuku said to Whis. Purple gold energy erupted around him, controlled and precise. Not the wild, explosive power of his early days, but refined, intentional, like a surgeon's blade instead of a hammer. Reality bent, not broke, never broke. He learned that lesson in blood and stardust, and space folded into geometric impossibilities that mortal eyes couldn't fully process. The last thing his team saw was his smile. Small, genuine, his. They vanished in a pillar of light that left frost patterns on the windows and the faint scent of ozone. Epilogue: the bridge between worlds. Earth from orbit. A blue-green marble suspended in infinite black, wrapped in gossamer threads of atmosphere. Stable. Protected. Alive with 7 billion dreams. Izuku Midoriya floated in the void between dimensions, Whis beside him, watching his home planet shrink to something he could hold between his fingers if he reached out. He didn't reach out. Some distances were necessary. His voice, narrating to himself, to the universe, to the boy he'd been. All Might taught me heroes save people with a smile. His hands clenched, then relaxed. Purple gold energy pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Mortal rhythm, divine power, somehow coexisting. Beerus taught me gods save universes with duty. He turned away from Earth, facing the unknown expanse of Universe 6. Somewhere in that direction, a plague was eating holes in reality itself. Somewhere, people were dying in ways that defied mortal comprehension. Somewhere, a young god was struggling with a burden he wasn't ready to carry. Izuku understood that feeling intimately. I'm not just a hero anymore. I'm not just a god. The smile came slowly. Not All Might's everything is fine performance. Not Beerus' bored smirk of cosmic indifference. Something uniquely his own. Weighted by universes, yes, but lightened by something even entropy couldn't touch. Hope. I'm the bridge between them. His aura flared like wings unfurling. Purple and gold intertwining like DNA strands, like the double helix of destruction and creation, death and life, ending and beginning. Destruction isn't the opposite of heroism. It's just the other half of the story, the half someone had to tell. Behind him, Earth continued its ancient rotation. His friends stood on its surface, protecting it with everything they had. Before him, infinite cosmos waited, filled with threats that would never reach his home because he stood in the way. He was the wall between chaos and order, the choice between what must end and what must continue. And I guess that someone is me. He looked back one final time, saw the sunlight catching on the Pacific Ocean, imagined he could see the training grounds from here, though physics made it impossible. Imagined Bakugo yelling at recruits, Uraraka managing press conferences, Ida organizing files, All Might watching from UA's tower. For just a heartbeat, he let himself miss it, miss being just Izuku, just Deku. Then he smiled wider, because he was still those things too. He turned toward Universe 6, determination burning in his eyes like newborn stars, and took the first step into the unknown. The void welcomed him. Purple gold energy flares against infinite black. Izuku's face in profile, that small genuine smile, eyes fixed on distant cosmos. The moment crystallizes, not an ending, but a beginning that never stops beginning. Post-credits scene. UA High School. Entrance exam waiting room. Present day. A kid sat hunched in the corner, knees pulled to chest, hands trembling against worn sneakers. 14 years old. Quirkless. Medical reports in their backpack, confirming what the world had already decided. Useless. The entrance exam would be combat-focused. The other applicants were warming up, quirks flashing, fire, ice, strength, speed, everything the kid didn't have and never would. They'd come anyway. Didn't know why. Stupidity, maybe, or desperation. The television, mounted on the wall, flickered to life, interrupting the buzz of nervous energy. Breaking. Cosmic-level threat neutralized by Earth's divine hero. Heads turned. Conversation stopped. Footage showed deep space, stars wheeling in the background. Something vast and wrong writhed in the foreground. Reality itself unraveling like cheap fabric. The camera struggled to focus on it, as if existence rejected its presence. Then, purple gold light. A figure in black and gold, floating without effort, one hand extended. Not in violence. In mercy. The cosmic threat dissolved like smoke in wind. Reality stabilized, stars resuming their ancient patterns. The camera zoomed in on his face. Green hair with purple undertones. Eyes shifting between gold and purple. Young, maybe early 20s. And smiling. Actually smiling. The news anchor's voice. Izuku Midoriya, also known as Deku, has once again prevented catastrophic dimensional collapse. This marks the 7th cosmic intervention in 3 months. Hero Commission officials continue to classify his current power designation as. The quirkless kid stared, transfixed. They knew that name. Everyone did. The quirkless boy who became the symbol of peace's successor. The one who'd broken every bone in his body, learning to use power he wasn't born with. The one who'd disappeared for a year and returned as something between hero and god. The one who'd been exactly where they were now. Powerless, dreaming, terrified. On screen, Izuku was being interviewed. His voice, calm and measured. Power isn't about what you're born with. It's about what you're willing to become to protect what matters. The kid's hands stopped trembling. Slowly, shakily they stood, backpack slung over one shoulder. Medical reports confirming quirkless status tucked inside, damning and irrelevant. If Deku could go from quirkless to god, maybe there was a chance. Maybe being born without power just meant you had to fight harder for it. Maybe the entrance exam wasn't about winning. It was about proving you wouldn't give up. The kid's face set with determination, jaw tight, eyes fierce, that particular brand of desperate hope that only the powerless truly understand. They walked toward the exam room doors. Took the first step. The cycle continued. The god who smiled. In a world of heroes and villains, he became something new in a cosmos of creation and destruction. He found balance in the space between mortal and divine. He smiled. And the universe smiled back.